Mayor, it's 1 o'clock.
We're live.
We're live. Mayor Crawford, we're live.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Village of Ruidoso regular council meeting. It's 1 o'clock, April the 8th. If you'll join with me, stand with me, please, for a moment of silence, and then we'll do the pledge.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish.
Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. All right. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Mayor Crawford,
Here.
Councilor Eby.
Here.
Councilor Letterman.
Here.
Councilor Salas.
Aye.
Councilor Jackson.
Here.
Councilor Corey.
Here.
Councilor Hooker's absent.
He's getting a little sunburn right now.
Yep.
We'd say tan, but we all know the truth. And so we'll move on to motion for the approval of today's agenda, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as presented and also allow the chair to move items for discussion at will.
Thank you. Second, any discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Councilor Jackson.
Aye.
Councilor Eby.
Aye.
Councilor Letterman.
Aye.
Councilor Salas.
Aye.
Councilor Corey.
Aye.
All right, thank you, everyone. Now we'll go ahead and move through the consent regular items. We have 7. Number 1 is approval of governing body minutes, March the 11th, 2025. Regular meeting, April 1, 2025, workshop meeting, April 1st, 2025, special meeting. Item number 2, approval of certificate of destruction, number 2025-02. Item number 3, approval of adoption of resolution 2025-09, a resolution adopting the infrastructure capital improvement plan, ICIP, for the Ruidoso Community Center for fiscal year 2025-2026. Item number 4, approval of award of RFP number 2025-008P to Deckard Technologies, Inc. for short-term rental software and services. Item number 5, approval of award of RFP number 2025-009P for water rights attorney services to Madrill, Sperling, Roll, Harris, and Sisk, PA. Item number 6, approval of request to schedule public hearing on May 13th, 2025 for application submitted by Verde Development LTD Company located at 1056 Meacham Drive, Ruidoso, New Mexico for transfer of ownership of liquor license DIS-899. That's the Jack's Backstage building, in case y'all didn't know. And number 7, approval of request to schedule public hearing on May 13th, 2025 for mixed-use PUD zoning designation with site plan and concept approval for Planning Commission case number SP 2025-31 for 270 Country Club Drive, the country club track of the Cree Meadows Country Club subdivision.
Mayor, I move approval of the consent items as read.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Councilor Corey.
Aye.
Councilor Jackson.
Aye.
Councilor Salas.
Aye.
Councilor Letterman.
Aye.
Councilor Eby.
Okay, we're going to go into public input. And you can watch the Mayor Pro Tem. He'll give you your minutes. How many minutes do they have, Mayor Pro Tem?
They have 5 minutes, but I'll give you a 2-minute warning.
5 minutes, 2-minute warning. All right, we're going to start off with an oldie but a goodie. He's a regular here. We were trying to get him his own show. Bill Hall, also known as the Bear Mess Dumpster Guy, and he's on the Planning Commission. And on deck will be Chief Sam Pirelli. Go ahead, Mr. Bill.
Well, I was gonna say good morning, but it's actually afternoon. Yeah, today, not a long, I don't think I'll take my full 5 minutes, but, just wanted to share with you something. As I said, we know we've gotten into level 2 fire restrictions, and this is just my kind of, not necessarily plea, but one of the things we need to do better communicating to, particularly with short-term rentals. I will give Chief Minter all the credit for talking about educating. I had an interesting conversation with a short-term rental in my neighborhood. And he's smoking outside at the time, and I asked him if he knew what level 2 restrictions meant. He said no, and he showed me inside. They really weren't posted inside in the rental either. But it was one of those conversations where took the opportunity to educate him. He said, put the cigarette out and said, God, I'm sorry for doing that. That's in contrast to the short-term rentals that like to feed Doritos to elk and deer. That's a separate issue. But one of the things I think, particularly with the fire season and as dry as it is now, if we could start to use some of the digital billboards we have around town to remind people, not just saying it's level 2, but what it means. And that's the challenge, is they just don't know what it means. But if you can explain it to them, you know, most people, 95% of them will go, oh, okay, I get it. But that was the thing that I saw, okay, it's kind of lacking. And I'm hoping as we transition to the annual inspections and the short-term rentals, that we better inspect signage that they have for what level 2 means, what feeding, Doritos and Cheetos to the wildlife mean. And it's a communication thing. And that's just something that, like I said, if we can use some of our digital resources this summer to be able to let people know, because they just, like I said, people come here, they don't know, and they're not going to realize it's something like right in their face. And that's all I had to say. So.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Appreciate it. Chief Sam Pirelli?
Yeah, my name is Sam Pirelli, and I want y'all to know y'all did a very good job, everything y'all do.
Thank you, Sam.
I do appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you very much. We appreciate you, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay, now then, we're gonna go ahead and do some, we have a proclamation. I want to move into section mail reports and presentations. And what I'd like to do is move to number 3, is proclamation honoring the long life of resident Emma Montez Richardson. And so, Barbara, if we can have you and your sister, and I thought I saw Kathy.
Yeah, Kathy's.
Is there any other family members here?
Sam.
There's Sam. And so this is pretty extraordinary. Not all of us have the chance here. We've got you a nice little plaque up here. You want to come over here and hold this? And then we'll get some photos.
Yes.
And you guys hold that up, and then. Okay. So this is proclamation, whereas Emma Montez Richardson was born on July the 15th, 1921, in Hondo, New Mexico, to Jesus and Tomasita Aldez Montez. And whereas after graduating from high school in 1940, Emma remained in Hondo, where she met Albert Richardson, then moved to Morrisini, Arizona. Did I get that close? Morenci, Arizona. And whereas in 1942, Emma enrolled in the New Mexico Highlands University in Las Vegas, New Mexico, where she was awarded a teaching certificate and began her teaching career in Arabella before transferring to her hometown of Hondo. And whereas Emma married Albert Richardson in Carrizozo, New Mexico on May 18th, 1946, and whereas Emma was blessed with 5 children and she embraced motherhood wholeheartedly, and whereas Emma became a dental assistant for Dr. John Sears, where she dedicated nearly 30 years, working well into her 80s with the same diligence and kindness that defined her role as a mother. And whereas Emma's grandmother was recognized in Ruidoso News in 1947 as the oldest resident of Lincoln County, and one of Emma's sisters lived to be 106 years old. And whereas Emma still resides in her home, surrounded by the love and care of her family, and at 103 years old, she continues her family's tradition of longevity. Now, therefore, I, Lynn Crawford, Mayor of the Village of Ruidoso, do hereby recognize Emma Montez Richardson's life as a testament to resilience, love, and unwavering dedication to family. Her story serves as an inspiration to all who know her, and her legacy will live on in the generations she has nurtured and shaped. Proclaimed this 8th day of April 2025 in Ruidoso, New Mexico. So she can't be here today, but we have her family. Got it? And we'll have some pictures on the web and in the Insider. So thank you. It was nice to meet all of you guys. And so I had no idea that y'all were related that much. So thanks, Barbara. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Well, I know now. Thank you, guys.
Have a good day.
So just think about that, 100 years. So
103.
I know some days I just have trouble moving, so I have a new found respect. And then T-Bone, are you here for Keep America Beautiful? So T-Bone runs our Keep Ruidoso Beautiful Parks and Rec, and then he does the Great American Cleanup, and so it's that time of year.
Yay.
Well,
I'd like to invite Sam down also.
Absolutely.
He's one of my board members.
Anybody else here? Susan, well, she's, thanks, Sam. Hey, this proclamation, whereas America Beautiful, Keep America Beautiful is the nation's iconic community improvement nonprofit organization that envisions a country in which every community is a clean, green, and beautiful place to live, and has established the Great American Cleanup as its signature national effort for involving American citizens in improving their community environment. And whereas Keep America Beautiful's Great American Cleanup is the nation's largest community improvement program, engaging more than 5 million volunteers and participants every year to create positive change and lasting impact in local communities. And whereas the Village of Ruidoso seeks to protect its natural resources and bring people together to transform public spaces into beautiful places, and whereas the Village of Ruidoso Council recognizes its commitment to engage citizens, civic and government officials, and business leaders to work together to end littering, improve recycling, and beautify America's communities. And whereas Keep Ruidoso Beautiful and Village of Ruidoso Council are committed to elevate the importance of volunteerism and motivate everyone in our community to become stewards of the environment. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Lynn D. Crawford, Mayor of the Village of Ruidoso, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Keep Ruidoso Beautiful and Great American Cleanup Month.
Yay.
So thank you, T-Bone. Can you advertise for us a little? I know you got some cleanups.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the mayor and council. This is, dear to my heart, and, this is something we do every year. We do 2 major cleanups. This is one of them, April 27th. I'm inviting all of you. The Insider had a great advertisement, front and back page. We have the Recycled Art Show coming up and other events like we're planting trees at the middle school and stuff like that. So please come out. And
When is the next cleanup?
It is April 27th, 12:30, Wingfield Park. We'll give you assignments. You go out, you come back. We'll have a raffle, and we're going to feed y'all.
Excellent.
And actually, our famous cook, Joe Eby, will be cooking.
All right.
And Mr. Mayor and Ron, they always have an assigned road, and Mr. Jackson, they all come out, so hope to see you all out there.
Hopefully you can join us. It's really a lot of
Yes.
fun. You get to meet the public, especially in our area on Rio, when we're digging around people's houses and decks, pulling trash out, they'll come out and want to know, what are you doing? And then when we tell them, they join in a lot of times too. So hopefully we'll see more of you there. So thanks, T-Bone.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Sam.
Sam, get here again. She needs to get a picture. Make sure you're by people.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sammy got active. He didn't know it. And while we're on proclamations, I used to make fun of our dear Tom Batten, Mayor Batten, because he was always proclaiming something. And I now understand why, because they all hit. And there's always something good to crow about, because just imagine having a centurion in our community, a long family line here in the community. So much of the time that's been here, you can see how the community's changed. And so that's one of the reasons that we have the Wingfield home. If you haven't been to the Wingfield house, Susan's family were the Wingfields. And so we have a lot of history that you can only imagine. Barbara's mom and those guys at the time going through and living, they helped make a lot of the differences that we're enjoying today. So if you get a chance, go by the Wingfield home. This proclamation, whereas the Fair Housing Act enacted on April the 11th, 1968, enshrined into federal law the goal of eliminating racial segregation and ending housing discrimination in the United States. And whereas the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in housing based on race, color, religion, sex, familial status, national origin, and disability, and commits recipients of federal funding to affirmatively further fair housing in their communities. And whereas the Village of Ruidoso is committed to the mission and intent of Congress to provide fair and equal housing opportunities for all. And whereas our social fabric, the economy, health, and environment are strengthened in diverse, inclusive communities. And whereas more than 50 years after the passage of the Fair Housing Act, discrimination persists and many communities remain segregated. And whereas acts of housing discrimination and barriers to equal housing opportunity are repugnant to a common sense of decency and fairness, now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Lynn D. Crawford, Mayor of the Village of Ruidoso, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Fair Housing Month. In the Village of Ruidoso, as an inclusive community, committed to fair housing and to promoting appropriate activities by private and public entities to provide and advocate for equal housing opportunities for all residents and prospective residents of the Village of Ruidoso, proclaim this 8th day of April 2025 in Ruidoso, New Mexico. And also, very shortly, we will have our new housing at 603 Meacham. Michael J. is right over here. It's looking really good. If you've driven by there and taken a look, the homes, we're really proud of the modular homes. They're really nice, and I'll be glad when we get to have an open house where the public can come in and check it out and see what we're trying to do in the community. And then right after that, maybe in a week, when's the groundbreaking, Ron?
Mayor and council, we're hoping like April 9th or 10th.
April, that's tomorrow. That's Tracy's birthday. Just want to let everybody know, my wife.
We're hoping
Make
on
sure I get it right.
First Lady's birthday, hopefully.
First Lady, yeah. So we're going to do groundbreaking on a 72-unit apartment complex. We've been working for this thing for years. Council's been diligent. We were able to get the investor, what is it, $25 million project, something like that. It'll butt right up to the Links over by P&M, their shop. So we're looking forward to getting those started. We're still way behind, and we do have a lot of conversations that this is starting with private, where private investors come in and can do their own house building, and we do have a lot of that coming on right now. So we're excited about it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll go to, back up into the area of mayoral reports and presentation. We'll do the presentation of new employees and promotions. This is always really nice because without the village employees, and see a lot of them in the audience today, a lot of the things that we get compliments, and mostly the things I hear from our community are really positive because of you guys.
Yeah.
Even you're retiring any day, but was that like another week, 2 weeks? No, it's just a little time. And that you guys really make a big difference. And we get comments all the time on just people are watching and they say, man, those folks really work hard. And so you make us all very proud, and the community shows the betterment for it, and we're all better for it. Pete Lara, PD, Animal Control. I saw him come in. There's Pete. There he is.
All right, Pete.
We're glad to have you, Pete. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Tell people I'm from Las Cruces, New Mexico. Been here since 2020. My girlfriend's from up here, so I decided to follow her up here.
That's the way it works usually.
And home ever since.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Yes, absolutely.
Hopefully you have a long career and you enjoy it.
Welcome aboard.
Isabel Martinez, Water Resource Specialist. There's Isabel. And she's like, don't ask me to say anything. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself, Isabel?
Yeah, I was born and raised here in Ruidoso. I went to school in Alabama to get my degree, and I moved back here to help out the town.
Excellent.
Beautiful.
Well, we appreciate you. It's a Water Resource Specialist dealing with the OSE's office is always struggling because they're always changing the game. So welcome to the game. So thank you very much. We're glad you're here. Jessica Ward, Solid Waste Operator. There she is. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Jessica.
Born in Ruidoso, raised in Lincoln County, kind of a little everywhere. I have 2 children I love spending time with, and horseback riding, trucks, all that kind of stuff.
Well, excellent. Good. We're glad to have you. And I know Jerry and everybody's really glad to have you. So, yeah.
And you're driving the trucks? Nice.
She still didn't think girls can do everything.
No, that's not right. I was like, yes, go girl.
Well, we're glad to have you. Evan Holloway, Parks and Rec Maintenance. Hello, Evan.
I am.
Glad to have you. Where are you from? Tell us about yourself.
I'm from Georgetown, Texas.
Where?
Texas, Georgetown area. Central
Georgetown.
Oh, Georgetown. Okay.
Texas. Towards Austin.
Yeah, I know, Robert. I thought you were saying something else.
Oh,
So.
my bad.
Oh, it's my hearing, I guess.
45 minutes away. I wasn't speaking up good. Sorry.
Well, I know Georgetown well. It's a great place.
I lived there my whole life, and then decided to live down here with my girlfriend and her parents. So
Follow the woman.
landscape's beautiful. There's a lot of good outdoor things to do out here, and I'm a very outdoorsy person, so.
You're in the right
That's why
department.
I'm at the park, so.
Yeah.
Way to go, thank you.
Yeah.
You gonna get in the Xterra games?
Yeah.
What?
Born there.
Gonna get in the Xterra games?
Xterra Games.
What about him?
I was wondering if he's gonna get into the Xterra games.
Oh, well, he's probably going to be working it. Xterra Games that'll be coming here in August.
Is it that word bow hunting?
Nope, this is off-road bike and running, and just ignore Joe. He has, we're off in the weeds right now, but you're in the perfect department. These guys are busy all the time, and we have a lot of big plans, as you're going to get to see some presentations here in a minute on some things. So we're glad to have you.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Armani Sellers, Parks and Rec.
Yay.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, and don't leave out the Starbucks connection.
So I was born in Colorado Springs, Colorado. My family moved almost every year, and then I joined the Marines and I kept moving. My parents wanted to come back here because this is where they met and they got married.
Oh, wow.
So I followed them down here. I've been here about 3.5 years, doing Starbucks the whole time.
And he's great.
And now I'm in Parks and Rec.
Excellent. We're glad to have you very much. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you.
There you go.
Jillian Bravo Ramirez, Water Distribution Maintenance.
There he is.
Hi there.
Oh,
Glad to have you, Jillian. Can you tell us about yourself? Okay. Okay, construction. Now you're with a good department, and we're glad to have you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. We got Adam. And then promotions, Mr. Garcia, heavy equipment operator.
Yay.
Excellent. So it just keeps growing, and we appreciate you growing with us. Just briefly remind us where you're from and how you got here.
Well, been in Hobbs, New Mexico for a while. My wife's from here, born and raised, so we moved down here, moved up here with our kids. Been here, going on 3 years. Been with the village for a year already.
Mm-hmm.
Just love being able to grow and supersede and help out as much as we can.
Well, thank you very much. We're glad to have you. Congratulations. And if y'all didn't catch the reoccurring theme through there was woman. All the woman, yeah. So maybe that should be our new hiring deal. We need to get some women. Couldn't hurt any. Oh, that's so sexist. I can't believe I said that. All right, well, now we'll do presentations of employee and department of the quarter. Employee quarter 1, this is January through March. Administration, Larissa Aparicio, utility billing clerk. Where you at? There she is. Come on up.
Come on up here.
Come on up.
Hiding all the way in the back. And she does a great job, and she's really getting very good at handling people that their water bills, $1,200, and I don't have a water leak, and it's not my fault, and she's very good with that, very patient. We appreciate all the hard work, answering the phone. You're the front door to so many people in the community, the first face they see, so we appreciate what you do. And hopefully we're good, supportive, and what you have to do. But you have a tough job up there sometimes, and we appreciate what you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Public Safety, Seth Caruth, Detective Sergeant. Seth, where's he? There he is.
Seth.
Oh, yeah, somebody put his name up, see. And we don't have to give it to you, but I do know you deserve it. But we appreciate everything that you've done. And we want to get your picture in here. Usually charge him. You get it for pictures? Yeah, he's going to do autographs later. Thank you very much, Seth. Appreciate you. So you can see even the police get embarrassed from time to time. So now they know how we feel.
Congratulations, Seth.
Community Service, Marissa Olvera, Youth Services Librarian.
Yay.
And the library is really an amazing place. I don't get to spend nearly as much time as I want to there, but compliments all the time. So many kids, especially the homeschool crowd, all the things that you're getting ready to do for the summer program. Thank you for doing everything that you do, Marissa, and taking care of our community. Thank you very much.
Thank
Get
you
your
very
picture
much.
right here. Awesome.
All right.
Jamie Newsom, he's getting ready to retire. Coming up when?
July 31st.
So we'll be having him back for a repeat, but he got nominated for Employee of the Quarter, Jamie Newsom. And how long have you been with the village? 25 years.
Yay.
So, and he can still walk. He's done pretty good, so it's not that hard on you, but we appreciate everything you've done, Jamie. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
much.
Get your picture right here. All right, thank you very much. And these guys work hard all the time, and I appreciate their patience whenever we have so many short-term rental people in town. And you just emptied the dumpster, and you just got up in that part of town, and you go back and you pick it up and you take care of it. And then when we have snow, the hard work that you guys do getting in to get the dumpsters emptied, just the nature, I think some of you have been involved in doing your job and somebody run into you.
in a brand-new truck. We're glad that you made it out alive. Thank you very much. But Solid Waste Department.
Yay.
Come on up. These guys and gals. So you just think about everything they do, the trash, not to mention all the slash and the pine needles, and we've got some more grapple trucks coming. And so these guys do so much for our community, and the calls that we get are not always, why do they have to empty the trash at 5 a.m? We do get that, but these guys take care of business, and we appreciate what you do.
Yes. And Robin keeps them
Yeah, she
going on
does.
the even keel.
Everybody smile, 1, 2, 3.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. You want to say anything? Here you go. You want to introduce everybody again?
Oh.
Well, this is Victor,
Victor,
Yes, Victor.
Robin.
then Jeremiah and Jerome. I think we know Robin.
Yes.
And this is our newest one, Jessica.
Yay.
She's going to be making hydraulic hoses too.
Excellent. Well, and
It's a good team.
good. And at Jerome, we just got a new trash dumpster, our trash truck, brand new, and early in the morning, doing his job, minding his own business. It was still dark, wasn't it? Yeah. Right over here by Albertsons, and she ran right into him. Yeah, head on.
Yeah.
Everybody turned out all right, and so we're glad. And so you just never know. Doing your job, and that's why you're always seat buckled up and doing everything that you did. But we're glad that turned out good. They did. Okay, so a shout out to the safety guy. Where's he at? I saw him sitting in here earlier. So thank you guys. Appreciate you. And then you get this puppy too. Or they had all been. Well, I'm just glad that I know these guys are always shorthanded, and I don't know how you get done what you get done.
Yeah, thank you very
But
much.
appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Take care.
Appreciate you. It's really pretty remarkable when you look around the village at all the work that we get done and just how efficient you guys are. It's really amazing. And a lot of the people here in the village don't realize how lucky they are to have all of you, but we do. Okay, we'll get back on the agenda. We'll go to, I believe it's manager's report. No?
Yep.
Is it?
Yep. All righty, Mayor and Council, we have a long list of updates for today, but we're going to start off with one. It's the Upper Sudworth Revitalization Project that we've been working on. And we were awarded an EDA grant, and we also received from Department of Finance the matching funds for this project. So it's 100% grant-funded project.
Nice.
No dollars from the village. And we have Gene Paulk here with the Senior Project Manager with Stantec, and he's going to provide us with a presentation today.
Excellent. Thank you, Ron. And the EDA, good work, the Economic Development Agency, is that what it is?
Administration, yes.
Administration. So good job. Thank you.
So.
Afternoon, Gene.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor, Council, Ron. Good to be here, and we're excited to be on this project. As you all are aware, this is a reboot of a project that the village had going on previously. I'll get into a little bit of the brief history of it through this presentation. I'd like to share this presentation that was shown to the stakeholder group committee last Thursday. So we have had the first stakeholder meeting. We anticipate having the first public involvement meeting later this month. So we're up and running. Next slide, please. Okay. Can you back up one? A few items on the agenda that we covered. Showed a couple of concepts, identified the team, went over our scope of work a little bit. Talked about some of the signage and some of the elements that were part of the previous study. Next slide, please. Here's the team. John Toshek from Bar Engineering is partnering with Stantec on this project to handle the environmental and public involvement portion of the project. He couldn't make it today. It's about a 5-hour drive one way for him. So, but he was here Thursday for the stakeholder meeting, and And upcoming will be another stakeholder meeting in a couple of months, and as I mentioned, public involvement meetings. Those meetings we anticipate to be in person and hybrid, so we can get as much involvement as possible. Next slide. There's the location of the project, basically from the Meacham-Sutter intersection up through the traffic circle as it exists now. Here's the history I was talking about. From the concepts that were shared with Stantec when we were first brought on board to this, that the 2022 date was the date of the Groundwork Studios work that resulted. In the spring of 2023 is when we were approached to provide a fee estimate for this overall scope of work, which the village went forward with, used that as the basis for their grant application, which was ultimately awarded and then got the grant finalized last year. Our current scope of work, as you can see here, there's a scoping report with some public involvement, the environmental investigation, engineering studies, preliminary and final roadway plans. Our time frame for this project is to provide the final design biddable set of plans to the village in June of 2026. So it's an 18-month time frame for the overall project.
Just the design and the public input?
For the public input, the preliminary study and I'll describe it here in a little bit, will ultimately get to the concept that the village wants to move forward with for the design, but the whole study phase and design, yes, sir. And that is just a little schematic for a time frame just for the public involvement portion of it. As you can see, there's 2 stakeholder meetings. As I mentioned, we've held the first stakeholder meeting, and there will be 3 public meetings coming up. We anticipate completing everything, the studies, and presenting the scoping report, which will include the final design alternative as selected by the village and the committees. And that'll start about the end of September. October timeframe is when we will start with the preliminary design. The design essentially will be going on prior to that because the concepts that we develop will already be in the works. So it won't be truly just a start from scratch preliminary design. We'll have some ideas already in place. Next slide, please. This is concept A. When Stantec was presented with this project, we were two concepts, and I'll show the other one in a second. Concept A and B were presented to Stantec as the 2 options that survived the previous process. So that's what we started with. We do have another idea that I'll show you here in a minute. But through the study phase of it, more concepts will be presented and discussed for discussion and the ultimate selection of what profile or layout the village prefers. Next slide, please. This is just an overlay of the existing concept A on the topographic survey that we've already completed, just to identify where it lies within the right-of-way. And under this concept, for the most part, everything is within existing right-of-way. Next slide, please. Concept B is essentially the same as concept A, but you may notice the traffic circle or the roundabout is much larger in this concept. It does, next slide, please. There you go. It may be hard to see, but the long line with 3 dots on it, it's an orange color. It may not show up well on this presentation, but that's the existing right-of-way. You can see up there on the west end or left side of the picture there where the circle lies, the proposed concept B traffic circle encroaches onto some property outside of the right-of-way. But fortunately, the village does own that property. That's that park area there that drops down into the river.
Yeah, the Stinson property.
Next slide. There's a close-up of concept B just to show, and this is proposed. As we move through the study phase and everything else, standards, the traffic control standards and traffic standards that apply to roundabouts will be applied. So if this is a concept that is going to go forward, it'll probably be some kind of variation of this, just so that it meets the standards. Next slide, please. This is just an idea that we presented to the stakeholder group as one of others that may come. In some communities around the state, we've seen this flat angle parking that is a little bit easier to get in and out of than true parallel parking along a roadway. Like I said, other communities within the state have had some success with that. in this idea or concept, and by no means is it, dictating a profile or a layout to the village. In this idea, we're keeping the bike lane on the south side of the road that was in the concept A and B as you saw a minute ago. But on the north side of the road, rather than having another bike lane over there, we're looking at a multi-use path. It'll be a wider path, approximately 10 to 12 feet wide, and in some communities, you can segregate or separate those paths with striping and signage. You could have two-way bicycle traffic, which may lend itself to not even having a bike lane on the roadway itself. Everything could potentially be on a multi-use path, and you could have bicyclists and pedestrians sharing that path. As with any other traffic marking, some scenario like that is only as good as people following it, right? So, next slide, please.
Yeah, that could be dangerous.
Yeah.
This is just a representation of a profile or cross-section of what that last concept that we just showed you would look like. It would reduce the driving lanes to 11-foot lanes rather than the standard 12-foot lanes. In some areas, in lower speeds, in urban areas, you can go to as low as a 10.5-foot wide driving lane. That lends itself very well to traffic calming and kind of helps people to keep their speeds down, just because it's not as comfortable to drive there. And then as you can see on the right side of the picture, there's we're showing a 12 or a 10-foot shared path. That's that multi-use path that I mentioned with a 2-foot buffer. That buffer space could be included in that path width. So ultimately giving it a 12-foot wide path, imagined for bicyclists and for pedestrians to share. Next slide, please. One idea that we just mentioned to the committee, and I'd like to share with you all too, the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which is a national standard, recommends in scenarios where you have a bicycle lane adjacent to a traveling lane or traffic lane, that maybe if you have the angled-in parking, that you have back-end parking. Depending on the habits and the drivers in the community, that may not be a good idea. We just threw it in there just for discussion and thought. But what it does, when you back into a parking space, as you can imagine, when you get in it and you're getting ready to leave, you're already facing the direction you need to go for travel. So it's much easier to look left and right to see if there's going to be a bicyclist or any conflict as you pull back out of there.
Geez, can you imagine?
Well, I mean, that's
I've
half the cookie. The other half is you got to stop and back into it.
True. And very honestly, that one didn't seem to be very well received. And
I've seen it work.
If they'd been to Albuquerque, I could well understand why they'd say that.
Yes, sir. Next slide, please. Now we're getting into the gateway signage. The signs, we were presented with the options that floated to the top of the previous work. So every concept that was in the previous study is not included here, just the ones that were presented to us. But within each of the ones that were presented to us, they each have their own alternatives. For example, you can see on the sign on the left, the upper and lower sign, either it can be just the sign itself or be a backlit sign where it's protruded away from the surface just a little bit and has some kind of lighting behind it to enhance it. And then also the different options of colors. You can see the yellow, blue, and white on the existing one, and then kind of a more natural, the brown tones on some of the alternatives with and without lighting. Next slide, please. And again, this is just that same gateway signage option 3. We kept the same numbers from the previous report just for the ease of understanding and speaking the same language to the committee. All but one, I believe, of the stakeholder committee are the same stakeholder.
The original
group.
ones?
That was the original, yes, sir.
How many do we have on there? Do you remember? I'm trying to remember who all.
Alex and Matt, do you remember, there were like 10?
There's quite a few when we met. And all of them are there save one. That's great.
And Bradshaw Lambert
Yeah.
is the new member.
Okay, Bradshaw is?
Yes.
And John still the.
And I forgot to talk to him at the meeting. He has to come from a Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, we've already wore that joke out on him, and he's impervious to it.
Maybe it's better I didn't bring it up.
Yeah, we're always talking about it, yeah.
I was thinking about that when I was leaving.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
So, because there were quite a few signs that came in, and then they narrowed it down to these.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Did they talk about our branding having different color of signs when everything else is.
Yep.
And those discussions will definitely be part of the public involvement process going forward. So, anything that I'm sharing today is not decided upon by
Right.
any means. It still has a process to go through for
Sure.
decision making. Next slide, please. Here's the other option that was presented or identified to us. This is the gateway signage option 5. And again, you can see the Ruidoso, the way the letters and the branding are identified there. And again, with options for the backlit portions of the signs.
Because there's one point, remember, they were wanting to go over the street.
Yes.
So because of trucking and all that, that it was brought back to these signs and just variations of the similar styles. One, this just says Upper Canyon and
Does that kind of look like a 3D with the lighting and everything?
That
the one that I saw was kind of, they were layered. And then the,
Yeah, like if you were to look at it sideways, you'd have the main base of the sign and then that little portion of it it's out, separated a little bit for the light to be able.
and we've already done rollover curbs and some of that in that area. Then we'll just have to extend that.
Okay, next slide, please. And again, just the same option with light. And as we said, go ahead and go to the last one, please. We did present to the committee that we want to hear their ideas. And again, we're going to have a public meeting later in the month. We proposed, part of our task or part of our scope of work is to have established a website for the project. We've already checked that domain name. I don't know if we've got it captured yet, but Matthew checked it during the meeting and it was not taken at that time. I don't know if.
Well, don't mention it because somebody will run out and grab it.
Somebody sitting in the back of the room might try to grab it up and.
Yeah, or somebody out there in the World Wide Web too.
So, that's what we shared, and we did get some good feedback from the committee. Just in summary, some of the ideas or comments that they had, as they talked about in the past, the steering committee generally favored the larger roundabout, which we agree with, and again, that configuration will most likely change to meet, traffic standards. The study team should involve the DOT, for a couple reasons, because on the east end of the project, it does touch up against DOT right-of-way there at Sudderth and Meacham. Plus, potentially, the DOT might be a good source of funding, with their funding options. It might be something, for the village to explore at that time. There was some discussion about public art in the roundabout. Of course, there's that bear that's in there now. Some of those things, when you have an official roundabout and adhering to standards, you can only go so tall. So that might limit some of the things.
I liked the, a little bit larger roundabout.
Oh, the larger roundabout?
Yeah.
Yeah, area-wise, yes.
And that's road, right?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
I thought the road's larger? Or are you talking about the grass in the middle's larger?
The grass in the middle of the circle, and
It's
actually.
bigger to slow, a bigger circle where you can only get one vehicle in there at a time, I think.
And which is a perfect segue to some of the other comments. The existing, the existing traffic circle isn't very conducive to some of the larger vehicles that go there. We know there's the fire department that's up there on Main Road up a bit. So the roundabout will have to be sized appropriately for the largest vehicle that will likely travel on it. Plus, the inside will be bigger, but it won't necessarily all be landscaped. In a lot of cases, you'll put a rollover curb and concrete some of that so that it can accommodate some of the larger vehicles. If they can't make that full.
Or a trailer.
Wide turn, their trailer's gonna track over that area.
Because we will have bigger trucks for quite some time going up in that area
Well,
for construction.
we're already at 18 months, and then by the time we get it done, it'll be another year, so 2 years, 2.5 years. But hopefully we'll be done, but you're right.
And there was some brief discussion about the naming of it. It was brought up, I guess originally it was talked about being historic Upper Canyon. My understanding is the village shied away from the term historic because we don't want the state, historic preservation, division
Arguing with us?
Yeah, because there's some certain nuances that go along with a true historic designation. So potentially it could create some confusion. Those were just a few of the comments that came from the first stakeholder meeting. One of the things that Alex asked me to do was for us to come up with a preliminary cost estimate, and please keep in mind what I'm going to share with you is very preliminary, and it's making quite a few assumptions and very frankly being a little bit conservative, but we anticipate for a full reconstruction, and I know, Mayor, you mentioned extending some of the rollover curb and new sidewalk. The cost estimate that we came up with, we assumed total reconstruction of the whole corridor. So, but that's going to land on the order of about $3 million, maybe just a shy bit less than that. So
The total?
yes, sir. So that might, for the.
And that's without touching that flat property up there, I referred to it a while ago as the Stinson property that goes down to the river?
That's
That little
without doing
park.
anything down to the river, but it does include that area for the
The
larger
walkway.
roundabout that would go into, and some kind of path, sidewalk, walkway, whatever option shakes out of of this exercise with the public involvement.
Mayor.
Okay.
So is the grant only for the,
Engineer designing and.
so then do we have to go out for another to try to get the $3 million grant? Can we start looking for that before they get the,
Well, we need the plan, and then nobody's gonna take you serious if you don't have we got a wish list, but what makes us different is when we have plan and thought.
Or in some cases, a high degree of, depending on how far along you are in project development. For example, I know the TPF applications are typically due in the springtime. According to our current schedule, we're gonna be between 60 to 90% design next year in springtime. That might be a good time we'll have a closer idea on what actual construction costs could be, because who knows what.
Yeah, well, what's the, when you're talking about time frame for the design and everything, what does that entail? I mean, I was just trying to figure out how we could change gears on that and speed it up.
So what we've proposed in our scope, after we go through this initial phase, the study phase and preliminary things, presenting ideas, we expect that one final option is gonna come out of it. So once we know what that cross-section of roadway and what everything's gonna look like, then we start the design process. We're looking at following the typical NMDOT standards of a 30, 60, 90, and then to final design. So we'll have reviews at each of those 30, 60, 90 phases. Each of those phases will include an updated cost estimate as we progress and fine tune the design.
When will we address on the property? Because we talked, I was talking to the Parks and Rec director about ideas over there. We've talked about things, access to the river, maybe a gazebo for, weddings or photo ops or dog park or whatever up on top, there's.
A dog park was mentioned by the
Yeah,
committee.
and that'll be in the final design of this?
Those ideas and those would need to be part of the public process and the concepts, the conceptual
And that'll be in the
design.
final product?
Yes.
Okay.
So we would like any of those, at least, like, for example, if there's gonna be something that's outside the scope of our project, but that there's gonna be a path going down to the park, if we know where that's at, we can design for a turnout or, a break in a sidewalk or whatever that may be.
Parking or whatever we can do.
Yes.
Any questions?
One question, you said that you're gonna have one more public input, stakeholders meeting?
So
Is that correct?
there's gonna be 3 public input meetings and 1 more stakeholder meeting.
All right.
And of course, all the stakeholders are certainly, as you all are, invited to the public meetings as well.
All right. I just wondered how you're gonna get it all hammered out in one more meeting, but if you got the 3
Yeah,
public and 1 state.
and it was scheduled that way on purpose to kind of bring the stakeholders a bit together because they were the core group that came up with these ideas. We anticipate getting more ideas, more options maybe coming out of the public meetings and then the stakeholder group. If you can go back to that, there was a slide that had that table on it with the timeline.
Keep
You'll see from
going.
that the second stakeholder meeting is gonna be towards the end. I think we have the stakeholder meeting and then the final public involvement meeting, if I'm remembering correctly. But yes, there's gonna be ample opportunity for everybody to get their.
That was it back when that public input, go the other way, back. Keep going. Nope, Go, keep going.
There you go,
Right
right
there.
Okay, there we are.
Mayor,
Better talk loud so you could hear me.
Actually, I apologize. I didn't remember that we had the second stakeholder meeting just prior to the second public input meeting. So there'll be the second stakeholder meeting and then 2 more public meetings after that.
And that's usually who makes up the committee is we went through the people that own businesses, property, blah, blah, and got them on the committee.
Yes, sir.
And that's where we got the input initially.
should we have the agency on there as well for the signage?
For what?
Well,
Well, she's looked at all this goes through the process.
Okay.
We're getting the ideas we need to get the ideas from the people, not just her.
well,
But
I
it's-
totally understand.
But everything is going to be in coordination with our logo.
Okay,
And we've received direction from your staff that we're to coordinate with the agency as the project moves
Okay.
forward.
excellent.
And there's some that there was brown and black that they were looking at on some of those, and then it'll be up to the council to make the decision. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
they'll find out issues like they were wanting to know about having electricity in the roundabout, if we wanted to have something lit in this there
Right.
as lighting, and so there's going to be a lot of options, and they've covered some of those already.
Yes, and that's what was shared. Some other comments were in there. We talked about maybe some kind of solar lighting. That's a big thing now.
Yep.
Or if there
Makes
is
more
electricity
sense.
there to get there. We were informed that the village does not irrigate their landscaping, for example.
No.
That's key to know, so that element is not included in any design, so.
But I really think that should look nice. That has
Very.
always been such an eyesore. And I think that would just finish off.
I think the people that take care of it now, it's in the center of it is not Matthew. Didn't somebody put that in there that was? Yeah, somebody was trying to make it look
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
anyway, and
But something like that would be very,
Yeah.
very nice.
We're definitely excited to work with the village. Ruidoso is one of my favorite long weekend getaway places, so I spend plenty of time up here looking around and
I can tell you, there's been a lot of discussion over the many years about, because the historic nature of Upper Canyon, doing something to make it look more appealing and
Yes.
whatever. And half the time when we talk to people about going up there, they thought they were running out of town. And so it really is going to be nice when we get that finished, and the stakeholders deserve that.
one of the elements, just speaking to that, Mayor, we're going to be presenting as the project develops and we get some good options identified. We have the capacity to do some animations through some visualization work where you can, on the computer, it's as if you were standing in a certain intersection or a certain location on the street, and you can get a 360 view of what each of the different options is going to look like. And we're going to present that probably about halfway, 2/3 of the way through the public involvement phase, because we'll just have to get some things developed to be able to have those ideas. But that should really help folks to decide what they like better and what's going to work the best for the village.
But then, like go along with your question on funding, we've had projects that money becomes available for whatever,
Yeah.
and they'll call and say, do you got something on the shelf
Yeah,
that we
that's
can?
true.
So once we get to that point, then we'll start looking, but right now, we're looking at 3 million.
Yes, sir.
It is sad because the historic, having to really watch that, because really that's where, a long time ago, Ruidoso started. I mean, yeah, there were businesses and different things, but if you went to Ruidoso, you were going to Upper Canyon. So that is too bad we couldn't say something like historic.
Well, usually they throw in birthplace, but then I think we're already using that at the Wingfield House, so I don't know.
Very good.
All right, anybody else have anything for Gene? Thank you, Gene.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Gene. I appreciate it. Gene's working with staff, does a great job, and he's retired Department of Transportation, and he has a lot of still connections, and we'll continue to seek funding, and we'll work on that, so.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Mayor and council, next we have an update on the Lincoln National Forest projects. We have Miss Amanda here today. I think she has some staff with her also.
We got all kinds of people.
Well, looks like she got,
I was wondering who the staff was, and but we'll get them introduced, and it's always great to have you guys all here to present.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, good. How are you all?
Good.
So I brought with me our fire folks. I talked to Rifle a little bit about what you guys wanted to hear and have us present on. That way it was a fruitful conversation and good questions and answers. So to my left, I have Joe Kimball. He is our operations side of the house for fire on the Lincoln National Forest, and Caleb Finch, and he is our fuel side of the house. So we had a cooperators meeting on March 25th, where we gave a little bit of information to folks that attended. I'm gonna let them speak, because they're the subject matter experts, and I'd rather them come from them than myself.
So again, my name is Joe McKimble, Fire Management Officer for the Lincoln, for Sacramento and Smoky Bear Ranger Districts on the operations side of things. So what we had at the cooperators meeting, basically it was a lot of just kind of where we're at, where we're sitting for the season, who we have on staff, you know, what equipment we have, that kind of stuff. And currently we have, on the Smoky Bear Ranger District, we have 4 of our local engines that are staffed and ready for the season. They've been trained and they're all already ready to go. So with our stage 1 restrictions and kind of getting into that severe time of fire season, we brought in another engine from Idaho to come help us staff and respond to any other fires that may get started as well. And then also with that, we also had another prevention patrol, to just another eyes out there, kind of educating the public, you know, we're in stage 1 fire restrictions, that kind of stuff, and just kind of help out and bolster that as well. Our hot shots, our local Smoky Bear hot shots, they are fully staffed and up for the season. They're currently en route back from Mississippi. They got an assignment over there to go help out with those folks over there. So they're back en route here. So that's really what we've got available. We do plan to continue to watch the indices, you know, the fuel moistures, the soil moistures, all that kind of stuff, to go into potentially stage 2 fire restrictions. And so we'll be following the science off of that, and just whenever the indices indicate that, we'll make that decision. And then also we'll be having another kind of meeting with the cooperators that we have in the county to inform, let them know what we're doing, you know, and
what are your forecasters saying?
So National Weather Service, Tom Bird down there, he's kind of saying that it's gonna be hot and dry. You know, there's not really, when we're gonna get some of these little pulses of moisture like we've been getting, kind of temper things for a little while, but it's gonna continue to dry. So all the way up till monsoons, models are showing what I was seeing, that average to just slightly above average, you know, monsoon season for us. So, but yeah, so.
Mayor, I've got a question.
Go ahead, ma'am.
So, Joe, when you say you've got the hot shots, so if there is another fire somewhere else, they go somewhere else?
Yeah, 'cause so the hot shot crews are a national resource, and so where they get to go and where they go, it really just depends on our regional office and how they coordinate where they go. So when they're here, we can use them, but they could very easily get pulled to something that's a little bit more priority. So we do have the Sacramento hot shots down there as well that are available right now nationally to go do whatever, but they're home. And so if we needed them, we could pull them up here and use them very easily, so.
So my question, Joe, is how big is the crew for the hot shots? And do they operate the engines?
No. So the crew, I think the Smoky Bear was 23, staffed with 23 individuals, I believe, this year. And then the engines have their own crews.
And how many per engine?
Depending, it's 3 to 5. Some of them are 7.
Okay. I get these questions asked all the time, so you know, it's there. Now, I remember when Smoky Bear hot shots were pulled out, then another hot shot, I remember Globe National Forest sent their hot shots to cover them. Is there a plan like that still in place to?
There is, it's not necessarily done on our level. It's on the regional level, the regional office level to, you know, move those chess pieces around to where they deem is appropriate. We do have some input about where, hey, we got structures threatened here, kind of a deal.
Right.
But the simplified answer is yes and no.
Could and it cannot, but
Yeah, so.
And there was something else. Nope, that's it for now.
Okay, anybody else?
Go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Caleb Finch, and I'm the Zone Fuels Fire Management Officer for the Sacramento and Smoky Bear Ranger Districts. My job duties entail the short and long-term planning, strategic planning, and implementation of fuels projects across both districts for a total of about, over the 1 million acres of the Lincoln National Forest. So what I'm here today is to talk about what has been accomplished so far within the local Ruidoso area, what is planned in the near term, what is planned in the long term. So up to this point, McBride has been accomplished, and then currently the resources are working around the Ruidoso Lookout Tower for a total of 20 acres. That has been thinned and piled on forest land vegetation, and the intentions there will be to ignite those piles when the conditions allow. Moisture obviously needs to be present, and so that'll be a project for the near future. As we move beyond those, the next priority project is what we're calling the Smoky Bear Heliport project. It's a total of 62 acres of thinning and pile burning and broadcast burning, which is just above the Ponderosa Heights subdivision on National Forest land. So it's in between the Ponderosa Heights and the Smoky Bear Ranger District office. And so as we move into the monsoon, when we look at burning piles, currently our two priorities consist of the Little Eagle project, which consists of about 160 acres of pile burning. This is up near the road going up to Monjo, and then a total of about 27 acres out by White Oaks community. Now looking at the bigger picture, we have a bigger project. It's in the Grindstone Lake, Grindstone Mesa area for a total of about 2,300 acres. A lot of that country, about 50% of it, has been thinned or treated or masticated or burned over the last 15 years. And so our goal is to go back in there and to continue the treatment, which includes thinning, mastication, and broadcast or pile burning as conditions allow. And then moving on into the even bigger, broader picture, when we look at planning, we have the Mescalero boundary fence, which will work in conjunction with the current projects around the Grindstone Lake and the Grindstone Mesa area, and that's also a fuels reduction project.
What do you mean boundary fence?
It's a project that's in the planning phase that will reduce the vegetation, either small diameter or larger diameter vegetation on the forest boundary that
See, this is what I don't understand. The tribes can do it, but we don't get money to do it, and I still haven't understood that.
Well, there's a variety of federal laws and policies that we have to follow. Those are out of our control. We have to follow those. So
But they're cutting it on forestry land.
They're cutting on Mescalero.
Mescalero, because we've tried legislatively because it does no good for our defensible spaces here when we have the big winds and then the fires get up. So that's what we were talking about, thinning and reaching out, and they were talking about this defensible fence or this barrier, and I thought they were saying it was going to be on forestry land, but it's on tribal land.
So they are working on their property. This project that we have is on the Lincoln National Forest, and this is a very lengthy project that goes across or adjacent to the Mescalero property. It's on Lincoln National Forest lands, and it will be a reduction of fuels, a variety of fuels, small and larger diameter, that will reduce the overstocking along that boundary fence.
Are you coordinating that with the tribe?
Yes, the interdisciplinary team will coordinate with the tribe, yes.
Has there ever been any discussion about the cedars, salt cedars and stuff like that, about trying to pull those out of here, eradicate those?
No, we have to look at what the priorities are. And where we prioritize our projects is based around the values at risk, and those are ecosystem and then also infrastructure around the village as well, and Forest Service values. So right now we want to focus on protecting those values and reducing the risk to those values, and salt cedar is probably not.
Well, the only thing is they suck 1,000 gallons of water, and it deprives and causes drying out when you're doing your metrics, and you pulling the dryness out of the trees and elevating. Those are issues that we've been talking about with Mescalero too, and then legislatively, federally, and state, is could we get a program to try to eradicate, get all those straws out of the ground?
Yep.
And that's what
They
we.
did years ago, Mayor, they did a project in Carrizozo, but I don't know what happened.
Yeah, because I know we've started conversations and it picked up a little more traction this year. And so eventually I'd like to get there because I think that'd help your program overall too.
Yeah.
And
And water
then-
tables for the communities. Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's good that you're doing it. Did y'all do anything on Gavilan Canyon? Who was that?
Yeah,
Yes, that
Warrior
was
Drive.
Warrior Drive. Yeah,
Yes.
I got back to the.
Whoa, that was awesome.
Yeah, so that is our property.
We didn't know whose it was.
I didn't even know that either, so I told him, like, fun fact, I'm learning. That is our property, and
Yeah.
so we did.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah, that looks very good.
yeah, it looks really good.
And actually, this morning we had a conversation about the specific piles out there on the Warrior Drive, and that's been added to our, what we call our pile burn plan. So we can look at burning those when the weather's right.
I liked it that you put no dumping.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If you don't, they think, well, hey. So, did you guys come last year down Gavilan Canyon and thin down the sides? Was that y'all?
I don't know. If it was on forest, it would have been us, or if it was on private property, it would have been somebody else.
Well, they were all in your vehicles and your gear, and so they weren't locals. They were brought in. It was after the fire, people were in there cleaning up, but they did a great job too. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Is the fitness trail open, Amanda?
Yes. You can go ahead and use it, right behind the ranger station.
Yeah, and Monju's open as well?
Oh, good. Manji's open. I think Manji's open. The trail's open. We're still doing a lot. So we're in our phase now of, we're also now focusing on disaster recovery. We got about I mentioned last time, we got about $125 million. Some of those trails out there did get impacted, and so that's part of our line items that we are focusing on coming in the next, 5 years, is what we have to spend the funds. So part of that is trail rebuilding and maintenance. So, but yes, the one fitness trail behind there, I like to go walk that trail. So yeah, get out of the office for a little bit on my
That's
lunch break.
nice.
Yeah, it is.
It is. And the public really, it's highly utilized, so yes, it's open.
What about, like Bonita, back in that area? You know, that place gets packed.
Yeah, that's something that we're looking at. Part of the disaster recovery funds is so South Fork got pretty burned, and this is already second round, and is it time to maybe look elsewhere? Do we need to relocate this campground? And the public's telling us, Bonito Meadow
man.
is kind of it, we see the holidays come around and it's back-to-back camping, and I had to cover the front desk the other day and answer a couple phone calls, and that was one of them, was where do we go? Because our site, it's kind of limited right now where folks can go, given some of our sites got burned over and are closed, and again, trying to figure out a plan in the next 5 years to reopen, but that's one of the places that we've discussed of public's telling us they want to go there. Maybe this is where we need to relocate our efforts and campground. So that's also part of what the disaster recovery team is assessing right now. That's what this first year and what they gathered, the first meeting was last week. As Kayla mentioned, an interdisciplinary team, so you have your archaeologists, your wildlife biologists, recreation folks, all engineers all coming together to specifically for disaster recovery, because again, it's a lot of money and only a short amount of time to spend it. So that's something that we are looking at.
So do y'all hire that work out, like the work that you're doing and stuff, that's all farmed out?
It depends.
They'll do it
just depends
in-house?
on the project and the priority. On the Sacramento Ranger District, there's $2.2 million that was awarded to the Lincoln for that district, where it's all basically work tied to fuels reduction projects, either out in the forest or around the village of Cloudcroft, and that's all funded through the National Forest Foundation, and then they will fund the contractors through that. Or we work with New Mexico State Forestry through various acts, and they will fund projects on the forest as well. So it's not just the forest funding it, it's either forest or agreements or groups. Anything we can do to overcome those obstacles and then get work done is what it comes down to.
Excellent.
Mayor? So Amanda, the campgrounds 1, 2, and 3, right there in Cedar Creek, I mean, those were so beautiful. Are we looking at maybe doing something else?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're
okay,
looking
good.
at opening them up. We're just looking,
Oh, okay.
we're looking at different options, you know,
Okay.
what makes sense out there? Is it tent camping? Do we allow maybe one group site? And, you know, maybe now we open this up for more, because we get a lot of tent campers and we don't have a really close location to send
We always
them.
have our reunions out there.
So do we. That's exactly what my family had one planned that last summer, and then when everything happened, that's, yeah, so we're going to Cloudcroft this year, but no, I hear you. So we're planning on, we're
Okay,
still looking at the
excellent.
group sites, you know, the use, the demand, you know, what the public is asking us for. And so those are all part of this year's assessment and how we're gonna move forward. And when we do have an idea, we will come forth with, you know, line items of this is how we're looking at moving forward. That way it's transparent with you all too in the community.
Can I ask one more question? Well, I've got you here. Is there any way that the Forest Service can put in a dump facility?
Where?
Anywhere. I mean, it just, you know, I guarantee they're dumping everywhere. And you know, it just,
You mean like RV potties? Oh.
you know, because there's nowhere to dump. And it just seems like that would be something that needs to happen somewhere or two.
So I know right now we send them over to like Twin Spruce and
To the, yeah.
some of those others.
But, you know, if you're going the opposite direction, and this is in my community, dump it. So I'm just, I guess it's a want.
No, and that's a fair want. I don't disagree. And if we do look at maybe some sites for RV facilities, that's probably something we will consider, you know?
Thank you.
So I'll bring that up to the disaster recovery team and see if there's something.
She's right, we have very few places to dump.
The question of flood control, and mine particularly Perk Canyon, are y'all doing in your little section between us and the Mescalero Reservation?
That's line items on our, to address. That's also part of we got flood control, trail maintenance, road and bridge construction. We even had some damage done to our admin facility. So that's part of the funds. A lot of surveys, assessments, so that we're doing the right work and not gonna have to go back in and redo work later. Rangeland, so we got a lot of fences for permittees that were destroyed, so that's stuff that we're looking at as well. Under this disaster funds, vegetation management, so timber and silvicultural assessments, salvage timber of 4,000 acres, what we can do there too. So those are things that we're looking at. We're still in the very early stages, so we're trying to go, we weren't even sure we were getting this funds, and so those finally dropped, and it's got the green light, and trying to figure out now is those line items, specifics of how we're gonna move forward within those projects.
And that was 2 million?
125 million.
Oh, nice.
His was 2 million.
2 million. 2 million.
So if there's, and my
Go
ask
very
too
far,
is if there's
doesn't it?
someone from the village, oops, I'm sorry, if there's someone from the village that we could be that you would recommend that we contact, so that we can start working together and partnering up on such things, you know, like what is important, what are you guys looking at? I know there's areas too, there's a line item for, I'm sorry, state and, excuse me, state and private tribal areas, so outside of our jurisdiction, but there's funding for those projects as well to look outside of the footprints, so.
Okay.
Okay, do I just, Ron?
Yeah, just
Okay.
call Ron. So can you tell me a little bit about, what do you call that? Bonita Tambark Trail? You go all the way around, you come down, and then you come out over there by the Weed Grow, and I forgot what that road's called.
No gal.
Nogal
No gal.
Canyon.
No gal.
Where all that down through there is fenced off, and what is that just for riparian waterway recovery? What is it for?
I'm not familiar exactly what that's
Well, I was told it was a forestry because it's blocked off. You can't even, the animals can't even get to the creek there.
Say this again, this is Bonita, which one?
What do you call, is that No Gal Canyon?
Yeah, are you going up over, like going to Bonito and then going up over and then hitting Nogal Canyon?
Yeah.
That's blocked off?
No,
you go down through the road and you come back through the area where there was a fire, and you come out by the marijuana grow to, so
Yeah, that's
you look
no
back
go.
to the right over the river, the creek bed through there, and it's got a big fence around a whole creek bottom, and it's just growing wild, but the animals that you used to see deer and all kinds of birds and stuff, and then there's some area that's open so birds can get in. I was just curious what it is. One day went in, there's a bunch of people pounding posts and running fence, and I said, what's going on? They said, you can't be here, you know, and it's like, well, what are you doing, you know? And so I thought maybe it was right here, it's right there in that little reed area,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Okay.
can't miss it.
I'll
And they
ask.
said it'd be there for a few years, and so I didn't know if there was some testing
They
or,
may have planted something, and, I mean,
Well,
the
that's
elk,
what I was
the elk and
hoping.
everything are pretty, it was a
Besides
pretty large
marijuana.
fence.
but there's a lot of things going on. I know there's studies with PFAS, you know, the forever chemicals, and I didn't know if that was it, but I hadn't been able to figure it out what it is, so.
But I'll ask.
Okay.
I'll get back to you.
Anybody else?
Thank you so
I'm
much.
just gonna ask, how was seeding project, you know, I know y'all was seeding last year, and then what is the progress on that, or is there any success in any of that taking root and sprouting?
That'll be some of the monitoring that we do and conduct this year, but we, aerial seeding for South Fork was 1,136 acres. And then we had the mulching too of 590 acres in South Fork. So we'll see. I'm hoping it took. We'll see. That's part of our botanists is they're gonna go out and do some monitoring to see if it took or not.
Let's hope.
I know.
You know, we were really needing a snowpack and.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think it looks great, and that stuff you did on Warrior and Gavilan made a
Yeah,
big difference.
That's great. Looks
That
good.
cleared that out, so,
Yeah.
but we look forward to the new thinning and then whatever partnerships we can work on. I know we had done things before with, trail system, like, behind Grindstone.
Yeah, we worked with,
Benches.
what was her name?
Um,
With the Forest Service also, trying to remember her name,
Redhead.
Camille.
Camille.
And then, prior to that also with,
She still lives here.
I know, I just can't remember.
Jody.
Jody.
Yeah, it's Jody.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah, so good, that's good. We like to be better partners and knowing what's going on and helping, and then getting the message out. When you go to level 2, that's a big deal. And so we'll need to get with our PIO, which I just got a notice, and I'm glad that you're still here, Mr. Hall. Because we do have fire restrictions, and what they entail are displayed on both the digital signs already. So we need to get them out, but that way we can try to get the message out. And we've got to do a better job on the short-term rentals, getting that information posted, but also the force, because we get questions. It's confusing because we're at level 2 and you're at level 1, and they mean different things, but similar. So, but any of that stuff that we know, as soon as you're ready to go, let us know. We'll start on the radio stations and all the different things that we need. And then when we do our marketing to our big areas, that we let them know that the forest is closed, or, you know. So, and have y'all had anything on the chutes? That's on forestry land on the Burns cars. Have you seen those? Looks like big dirt devils.
Oh.
You haven't seen those? Yeah. That'll freak you out. I mean, they're bigger than the dirt devil and smaller than the tornado, but they're popping up all over the place.
Oh, okay.
You know, you've seen that movie where all the tornadoes are wiping out mankind? Well, it looks a little bit like that.
Mayor, question for Ron. When we do inspections in the STRs, is looking for the signage part of the inspection process?
That's on the checklist, yes.
Yeah, but then during the year they get,
Yes.
we got to get them in there to make sure they're putting it back.
Yeah, because that needs to be the companies trying to get their housekeepers to have them in their cars, and if they're not there, put it back in. Because some people grab it, throw it away, whatever.
All right. Well, thank you. Go ahead.
And I know it's beyond your control, but I'm sorry that they cut your office hours, or at least the public access. So it's 9 to 3 or 9 to 4?
9 to 3.
But it used to be 8 to 4, I
Correct.
believe, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Oh, 8:30 to 4. Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm. 9 to 3.
9 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Annual office hours.
All righty. Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
very much. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Amanda.
Lots of good information.
Don't be strangers, yeah, anytime there's an update.
Appreciate it. Mayor and council, next we have Michael Martinez to give us an update on the floodplain map and an update on the US Highway 70 plan that's also being conducted by Cobb Finley.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. So just a general update on floodplain. So we do have the floodplain map now on the website. There are FAQs that are attached to that, so residents and property owners can read through them. We have been getting feedback, so 2 items, and I just texted Carrie right now. 2 items that we will probably be adding is a legend at the top of the map, identifying what the colors are. I know it says it further down, but just on the legend itself. The second item that was a question was some of the data that was included in the map. There's purple lines in the map itself, and they have numbers on them. That's actually the height of the water at a 100-year flood. And so if someone has a survey and they know what the actual established point is for their property, they can tell what that elevation difference is. And we're going to put that on there as well in the explanation so that that's there. We have been getting a lot of feedback, some misconceptions about what the floodplain means. We've had several property owners call in saying, okay, so when is my buyback going to happen now? And we're telling them, because the floodplain map came out doesn't mean that it's an automatic buyback program. What that does mean is that you may qualify. And we are working with NRCS. NRCS is submitting that information. In line with the floodplain, NRCS did calculate a significant amount of information. Cobb Finley had generated a map with a significant number of properties, roughly about 250, that were in the floodway where structures were actually being touched by water. And so we filled out that documentation along with NRCS. They're going to submit a budget of about $49 million. That's extremely low. It's what they were able to pull from the tax assessor's office, but we needed a number so that we could at least identify a budget that could be requested. That would mean that about $14 million would have to come up as a match somewhere between county, village, or state. So that's going to be requested as part of that floodplain component. The second half of the floodplain is going to be Highway 70, or the Cherokee Bill watershed. We're hoping that in about a week and a half, we're crossing our fingers that by Friday it should be done, but the week and a half is what we're giving everybody. That would then have to come back to council. That portion of the flood map would have to be adopted and discussed to enhance the floodplain, to establish the floodplain all along 70. And so that should be coming in the near future as well. And with that, trying to think of anything else. So one other item that we are getting questions on, I know several of you all have started to understand the substantial damage issue that comes with floodplain and homes. There are issues that are popping up about substantial damage that we're clarifying. A lot of people went in, cut their homes or structures in half and said, okay, it's going to cost me $15,000 to fix. That's all I need to do. Unfortunately, that's not how substantial damage works. Substantial damage is if half of the structure is impacted, but the structure is making up numbers worth $100,000, and the estimate to get them where they could fix everything back to what they had is $60,000, but they cut the structure in half and it only cost them 10, they still have the $60,000. So they would have to rebuild that entire structure to the new requirements in the floodplain. We're having to explain that to people, and they're getting extremely frustrated. But
And
that's
that's the 2 feet above the.
2, 5, 10. I worked with the lady, unfortunately, in Upper Canyon that had a 12-foot raise on her new property. And so those are things that they're having to work around. Outside of that, I'm open for any questions.
So it's a 12-foot, but is it still from the high water mark? I thought it was 2 feet or 3 feet from the high water mark.
2 feet above the high water mark, the new high water mark in some of these areas, so.
Is up to 12?
It's up to 10. She has to build 2 feet above that.
Okay. Okay. And when you're dealing with the public, maybe if we could explain what they mean by 100, 500-year flood.
Yeah.
You know, they think, oh, I got 99 years, and it doesn't work that way.
We are starting, so every time I engage with a resident or a property owner, that's what we're explaining. What the water levels actually mean, what a 100-year flood means. There was a lot of confusion after the fires because we had 100-year flows, which resulted from what would have happened if we had a 100-year flood. A 100-year flood basically means you have 4.5 inches an hour for about 3 or 4 hours. And the water that comes off of that is the 100-year flood flow. We had 100-year flood flows and 500-year flood flows because of the burn scars, but we didn't have the rains that would
Right.
accommodate to that. So there was some confusion. We're clarifying that. We're explaining what that looks like. People believe this was a one-time event, and we're saying, no. And as you just heard, it looks like the monsoon season is going to be a little bit stronger than it was in the last year. Those are still going to be flows, or we're going to see a lot of water. So we're trying to prepare for that.
Anybody else?
To clarify, so the Highway 70 flood map will go all the way to our boundary line by Foxworth.
Yes, sir. So it'll be from boundary line to boundary line of what the map will be, but the data actually encompasses more than that.
Okay.
So it encompasses the entire watershed. It flows into the downs and further down, plus what we're pulling from Mescalero.
Is the Corps updating their flood map?
The Corps?
Cord.
Oh, Cord.
City of Red Oak, Sedan.
I am not sure if they are going to be updating theirs or not. I'm assuming they are. We are going to share our information with them, but I'm not sure if they'll be adopting one. That's the acronym I didn't know. I apologize.
No, I'm sorry.
That's a great question, though. We're going to ask.
no,
We'll ask that question to the.
Yes.
Thanks, Michael.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Mr. Adam, our Public Works Director.
And we're starting to think we'd never see this thing get here. Hopefully, we'll have it in full use soon.
Hopefully. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Josh was actually supposed to present, but he's out there working on it right now.
Yeah, he chickened out.
He chickened out.
Yeah.
We actually have a contractor up right now that does a lot of our maintenance and all of our, the technical stuff on the hot plant. He's wiring the hot oil tank in right now. So as soon as that gets wired in, Josh has some puzzle pieces to put together as far as the piping. The hot oil, the heating oil has been ordered. I think he may have already got it in. And then we got a PO for the actual hot oil to go in. So fingers crossed, here in the next couple weeks, we'll be able to fire
The
that.
new unit is a little different configuration, so they're having to change up the plumbing.
So it's still a 10,000 gallon oil tank, but it's shorter and taller.
I have a question.
Shoot.
So, you know how Kinetic goes in and cuts your road? And it's happening all over Red also.
Yes.
Is Kinetic, do they need to repair the road, or is that going to be us?
We're charging them, so we will repair it.
But
We'll
then
repair
you're-
it, but they're
okay.
paying.
They
So are you depending on the citizens to say, hey, look, on Meadowwood, there's 3 cuts? How are you, because it's all over Rideau, so how are you figuring out where to go? Because this is the main topic of the people when I'm walking the links.
So if there's somebody that sees something that needs to be filled right away, let us know.
Okay.
We do have, Kinetic did fill out street cuts, so we do have the areas that they have been.
So they are filling
Yes, ma'am.
out. And I know that we don't have access right now. Is that why we're not?
That is exactly right.
Okay, good.
Temperature.
Yeah, and the temperature,
and
absolutely.
If we get the stuff from like Mesa Verde or AgTech down in Alamo.
Yes.
It's a highway grade, so it's really hard to patch a road. It's made to lay down with a lay down machine. You know, you bring it up and try to patch even the hot box, it's so hard and the aggregates are so big that it looks worse and acts worse than
Okay.
it actually is.
Well, at least now I know what to say.
Adam, since you're here, what's the latest on Starlight?
So Starlight, we actually have a pre-construction meeting tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Like I said, we have the engineer, we have the contractor. We're waiting on the wage decisions from the state, and I believe we got those. So we're ready to go. The contractor's already called in the one call. We're ready to rock and roll on it.
Good.
Mr. Mayor, Adam, in the past, we'd had problems with the service panel to the hot plant, and there was some revision and some ordering on that. Are we up to speed on that too?
So we have ordered a new, basically, house for all the electrical, and it'll come basically prepared except for the control panel itself. But that's a little ways out, so we're just gonna get it up and running to start our paving and patching. And as soon as it comes in, hopefully by this next winter, we
Do the
can take it back
changeovers.
offline. Yes, sir.
You got good rubber boots?
Good rubber boots, yeah.
Okay, next.
Next is gonna be the update on Innsbrook paving project. So as you guys know, NRCS is working in Innsbrook to clean out the waterway from Cedar Creek. I have been in contact with the contractor that's doing that. They're thinking it's gonna take them at least 2 months to clean that out. We don't want them running over our new fresh paved asphalt. So I am working with them. We're gonna start and hopefully start paving Metz as soon as we can. And then we'll get like Grenoble and Riley Cove and start working our way to the south this way. And I have, like I said, I have been in contact with them and he said that he would work with us. You know, the further they get down this way, they're gonna start up top and work our way down. So he's gonna start blocking it off as they come down and we can kind of follow them through.
So when do you think we'll get to Metz, Grenoble, and?
I'm hoping they should be started, they have to de-water, so they've actually put some equipment and stuff out there. They're telling me it's like 3 weeks for them to drain and de-water. But as soon as we can get up and running and get some asphalt, we can start on like Grenoble and Riley Cove, those places.
So.
I'm hoping by the end of the month.
Okay.
Get started. If we can get this hot plant up and running, we'll be golden.
Because on the other side, you're saying that's at least 2 months and then before we can even get in there.
Yes, sir. It'll be at least be 2
That's
months.
gonna be right in the middle of the summer over there.
So, Mayor, forgive my ignorance, Adam, but these overlay projects like Leon Farrar and Wingfield Drive, are they dependent upon our hot mix plan? or-
No.
No.
No, they have it shipped in, and basically it's just, they're gonna go heat up the ground, they're gonna clean it off real good, they're gonna it's called heat scarification, they'll heat it up real good, and then they overlay over it
Okay,
with from mix they bring in.
okay, thanks.
And then,
He's been so gracious, Todd Finney with Sauter Miller has been so gracious to join Adam on this update on this project, the Upper Canyon Diversion Project.
Mayor, councilors. good
Nice to
afternoon.
see you.
Mr. Finney,
Yeah, glad to be here.
glad to be,
I
for
need to
you to
get-
be
I need
here.
to get to your community more often, so
you
Want me to-
start? I can start.
either way.
So Mayor, Council, this will be actually brought to you guys on, I guess, a special council meeting coming up for a change order for some days on this project. And Todd's here just to kind of back me up on this and, kind of explain to you guys why we're asking for the days and what's going on with it. So we did issue the notice to proceed, I believe it was October 2nd for this project. Is that correct? September 30th. So with all the flooding and stuff, we ended up having to get a contractor in the river to clean out the debris out of the river before the contractor could actually start framing up the new diversion system, which shut them down with rain days and snow days and that going on for they got a schedule of 50 days. They're asking for
An additional 50,
an additional 50
starting
days.
from,
Their substantial completion was March 30th. Their final is going to be April 23rd, or April 28th, I'm sorry. So the days will go from the March
April.
30th deadline for substantial completion. And then the final, so it'll be May, do you have the numbers there, Todd?
Change orders, so the 50 days takes the previous substantial completion from March 30 or 31 to May 19th, and final from April 28th to June 17th, I think.
Geez, Todd, we didn't have any snow.
Yeah. I read through all the documentation. The change order is pretty well put together. Our team briefed me on the entire project, really from bid to where we are today, yesterday. And and there was some questions that we had internally. And then I spoke this morning with Edgar, which I know he spoke.
So what's the name of the company?
Spartan Construction. Yeah, and they submitted last Friday an updated construction schedule that is attached to the proposed change order, which Sutter Miller has reviewed and signed. And the contractor has signed, and it's in Adam's hands now, which will be brought to y'all. This is to add the 50 days. I queried our team, do we feel the contractor can meet that schedule? They've been slow in progress to date. Some of it's not their fault with that extra excavation by an outside contractor or another contractor.
Well, we had MP Chavez come in and clean that out. And
And so my team, the response I got was not 100% certain, but there is liquidated damages in the contract. So they've given us an updated schedule. It's $1,000 a day liquidated damages. I asked my team, and generally that's in the contract. So there are some teeth there if the.
So when you're monitoring this, is it just at the end of the stage, or do we have somebody checking on progress once a week, or?
I think the village has more eyes on the site than we do. We have periodic inspections, which is something I asked the team. And we have people out there for critical elements, concrete pours and so forth. I think they're currently excavating for the meter pit. There's high groundwater. And so they're getting ready to form up and pour for the meter vault, which I think is a significant structure. So go ahead about your on-site.
So as far as on-site, yes, we do have an inspector the plant guys go out there. I have Sam going out there, and I have Jamie going down. We have periodic just throughout the day, making sure these guys check and see how many people they have working, what they're doing, and doing dailies on it. Like Todd said, the meter vault that they're talking about is about 18 feet deep. They did get to the bottom. They got a 1.5 feet from the bottom. We're going to do a field change order to leave that last 1.5 feet just because of the groundwater. And then there were some questions about the groundwater and sealing the box and how we're going to do that. We figured that out yesterday. April 17th, I believe, is when the vault's going to show up. So they're going to do the pour. They'll put the vault in. They are working with us as far as taking water. They're pumping into our line. As soon as they get the vault in and get the line sealed up, we'll be able to take water to the diversion while they're finishing up.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, by June, we're going to start hopefully getting some rain. Is this new vault, are we going to be able to capture when we have heavy flows, or is it going to be one of those things we have to shut it off so that we don't get bad things in the vault? I mean, we don't have any water really going in.
So, Councilor Ludman, that's a great question, and that's one of the big reasons we're doing this, is the way the vault's designed now is we have a high flow and low flow, okay? And the way the intake structure actually works is there's a screen there. It's called a Kawanda screen. And this will actually help keep the debris and everything out of that line, so we can take debris in high flows. We'll be able to take water without the debris.
Okay, that's great.
Just to add on to that, I believe I saw in some of the correspondence, Clint Dodge, I think, is the engineer, and the Kawanda screen. The first community I worked with in 2009 when I moved to New Mexico was the city of Las Vegas, and we put a Kawanda screen up there. And they have it right on the Guyanas River, same situation, high flow, low flows. And it's designed, it's basically like a water shaver. It shaves the water as it flows over, but allows the debris to pass.
That'll
So
be great.
Instead of like our old diversion, you had the gates, the diversion sat like this and the river was here. So you'd have to open the gates for it to actually take the water. Well, this one actually has a screen so the water goes over it and you take whatever you want, so it screens everything out.
That's great.
It's
Okay.
like a leaf filter for the
Yeah, I love
winter.
it. Yeah.
Well, that was the design because we were having to lose so much water.
Yeah.
it's pretty impressive, that specific device, the Kiwanis screen, made specifically for this. So flows on the river, debris and stuff can flow right over and the water drops into the catchment chamber.
Excellent.
Okay?
Any other questions?
So I just wanted to, barring anything, 50 days.
50 days, and I just got the change order, and they sent a change order 2 weeks ago, right before their substantial completion of 54 days and $66,000. We pushed back and basically offered them 25 days, and they came back and said.
Are you Trump or what? Negotiate.
I'm a car salesman.
Yeah, okay, is that what it is?
There was no itemization on their change order, so we had them itemize everything out. I got the change order back signed today for $26,000 in 50 days.
Good for you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So we don't need, the council didn't need to approve the continued days?
Mayor and council, we could go ahead and you could sign off on the days and on this change order, and then we could bring it back.
We're not over 60 grand, so we don't have
Exactly,
to.
just to move forward on it. Another thing on this project is Sauter Miller, they helped us by taking over this project. They didn't design the project. That's been the other.
That's always a lot of fun, one engineer doing it,
Yes,
another one.
so there's been questions, and they've had to contract with the former engineer and work on that, and make sure, because they designed it, they stamped it, they have to do any changes, and then have to get back to Todd and his staff, and they've been working through that also, and it hasn't been easy at times.
Who was the former engineer?
Molson.
Oh, God. So.
What was that? Oh, God.
And regarding I reviewed the itemized breakdown for the 26.
It was.
I reviewed that this morning while I was sitting over in your library, which it is a beautiful library.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Sit in there and pull up my laptop, work.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you very much for that.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you, Todd, and Todd also came to look at the racetrack and project there, so I appreciate you coming, take a look at that. So that's going to be another, that's a huge
So
one.
there's a fencing thing later on in your agenda, so it's our pleasure at Sauter Miller to work for your community. We appreciate y'all. You have an incredible council, mayor, staff. It's a pleasure to work with y'all, so.
Well, you guys always do a great job, and they're helping us out on our water rights. What's her name?
Sally.
Sally. And that is so frustrating dealing with the OSE, and she's able to tiptoe through that and get us to the other side. So we appreciate all that you guys
Yeah, she
do.
joined us just not too long ago, and lo and behold, she has all that water rights kind of experience, water accounting, so.
Yeah.
And Todd's going to also be helping us on the I&I study, so we have to work, that's going to be crucial on a report. We have to do a quarterly report, so we'll be working on that, so, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, well,
Thanks
thank
a
you,
lot.
Todd.
Thank
you, Todd.
Appreciate you guys.
You're welcome.
And there is a little fire on the reservation over by Palmer Loop. We just got a text from the chief, so they're on it.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So the first item discussing today is the WIBIT, and kind of what we're looking at with Grindstone Lake operations this summer. It's no surprise to everybody when you go out there, there's not much water. I mean, it might be surprising, but it's easy to see.
And with that, I think we need to talk about not putting it up.
So that's what I want to talk about today. That's what we're proposing is not having the WIBIT, at least for May and June. We can reevaluate mid-June and see what water we've brought in. And part of the reason is we would have to put it so far out. And then if we do have monsoons like anticipated, and we do get the diversion, the water coming in will come in so fast that we risk damaging the equipment because there's only about 7 foot of leeway in our bungees. And so if you raise it more than 7 foot, it starts damaging equipment.
Is exterior, are they having a swim event this?
So they will be in there swimming in August.
So will the Whibbit impact that?
No, we've already given them the layout of the Whibbit where it would be, and they're perfectly fine with it. They actually were happy the Whibbit was gonna be in because they were gonna put branding on it. And so in the backdrop of their swim would have a lot of their branding and stuff. But if it's not in, like I said, we'll reevaluate mid-June and see kind of what the water levels look like, if they're up, if they're stabilizing, things like that. We just don't want to put it in and risk our equipment. One, it's also, the very small amount of water, and if we do, heaven forbid, have another fire, we don't want it in the way of that small amount of water. And so, we think it's best to just, not have the Whibbit for the first portion of the summer, reevaluate. If we can have it in by the beginning of July, it would be great. But if not, that's just part of recreating in a natural habitat, is sometimes you have to adapt.
I really appreciate it. Thanks.
And we do still plan on charging for parking during the summer months there, which is where we get a lot of watershed funding and things like that. We do get a lot of funds off of that, and so we do still anticipate to do that portion, but just not have the Whibbit operations this summer.
Thank you.
Okay, and then, thank you, Adam. And then the next thing I'm gonna touch on is the White Mountain Sports Complex Master Plan Project. And so I just kind of brought some examples to y'all today. This was a redesign, and I used the word redesign very lightly because there was only a couple small changes about a year ago at this time. And the small changes were just south of the current baseball field. You can see number 11, and also I believe it's number 10. Nope, not 10. I just went blank on the number. But number 11 and then number 37 actually are locker rooms. And so it's actually 2 sets of locker rooms, one for baseball and one for softball. Those were a change that we had made last year in the plans. Currently, and in the previous plans, there were no locker rooms out there. And so baseball would actually have to change and softball would have to change at the school and then come over if they were gonna use locker rooms. Visiting teams after a game, they didn't have a locker room or anything like that, so we thought it was very important to put locker room facilities into this master plan. I also, on the smaller sheet I gave y'all, you can kind of see the phasing that was outlined in this project. And so the current phase 1 would be basically building new parking lots and adding the 2 baseball fields. It's kind of basically that phase 1 area is where the pickleball courts are, the current parking lot is, and then around 421 hole. That's kind of what phase 1 is. And you have to get the parking lots done because, you have to build those, then you can build the fields because we're building on the parking lot. Phase 2 is where the current fields are, and then just some work in that waterway, just some cleanup work there. It's not a whole lot of work there.
The corner of White Mountain and Hull, on this one, Matthew, it's number 31.
Yes, sir.
Isn't that school property?
Yeah.
So it is. Most of this is school property.
Okay, and
we have an
are you
MOU
working with the schools?
Yes,
and
they're part of our
we're all
board
on
and.
the same page?
Yes, sir. They're part of our board, and we have an MOU, of course, the operations and the running of this property, and so we do have that ongoing. And then phase 3 is just a small area, a couple parking lots, and small area around the current baseball field, and turning another field up at the very north end. You see that?
So, on number 31 for overflow parking, are you proposing surfacing it or?
No, it'll be kind of like what it looks like now.
Okay.
Grass,
because
flat
it
grass
is-
area.
It is marshland.
Yes, yeah,
Because you
flat
have
grass
here
area.
that that's a temporary dog park.
Because during phase 1, we'll have to pull the old dog park out.
Yeah.
And so the plan is to temporarily put it up there. We'll put temporary fencing in to make that a dog park while we're doing the construction process.
Has the school seen this?
Yes, they're on the board for this also, the
Oh, I know, I'm
committee.
on the board.
Yeah, I was
I
like,
haven't seen this.
yeah, this was what we presented our last time we met.
So, Kids Connection would would be demolished?
Yes, we would probably end up we would end up demolishing Kids Connection. We've looked at some options to put, some newer playgrounds there and part of the reason is, I mean, we all love Kids Connection. It's very close to our hearts. It was a community built project. It is also 24 years old now and it's a wooden playground. Wooden playgrounds are extremely costly to upkeep and time consuming to upkeep.
The paint's already peeling. I was over there yesterday.
Okay, yeah, and so we go through it, we're getting pretty close to time this year. Actually, we'll send crews through to start doing the upkeep, changing out boards and things like that. We try to maintain it very well. It's an amazing playground. We love that playground, but with the new plan, it would be coming out and we would have to look at it.
So the work on the pickleball courts, would they have to relocate?
No, so the pickleball courts are actually staying in their current location, that's number 16 on here.
Okay.
And then adding pickleball courts around it.
Okay,
And
so you're not disrupting that?
No, so it wouldn't be disrupted. And I have just applied for a grant. DHSCM helped us apply for a grant through the National Park Service. That's a professional services grant. And so basically what it is, the National Park Service will take these types of plans, help us tweak them, help us use their engineering services to make them a little bit better, make them work better, and then also make them more palatable for grants. So they know a lot of the grants that will pay for this type of stuff. And so they come in and say, hey, if you change this thing a little bit here, you'll qualify for this grant over here or this money over here. And so that, hopefully we get awarded that grant to help with
So
those
do
projects.
would we have to pay for that? I mean, we've already paid for this.
So no, that professional service grant through National Park Service that's what the grant is. It covers the cost of their services. And so, we're really excited to hopefully get that. And just to give you some numbers, looking at this, remember, I want to remind you, these numbers are from July of 2022 on the phasing. Phase 1 is about $11.5 million in 2022 dollars. Phase 2 is about 5.7 million in 2022 dollars. And then phase 3 is about 4.2 million.
Domestic.
Yeah, and so then that brings up a really good point too. If we do get like federal grant money, those numbers will go up tremendously due to BABA and Buy America and those types of programs. It's just cost more. But with those grants, normally understand that, and so those grants are higher value grants too. So
How, Matthew, how did you all calculate the parking spaces? Because with all these ball fields, are we gonna get overwhelmed?
So I will say, on a lot of this, this original plan came to be before I was here. This is a plan I adopted, so I can't answer directly on how they came to that number.
But you understand
Yes.
what I'm getting?
Yeah, I do know that these engineering firms, that is part of the stuff they have to look at, and that's something before we move to a construction phase. These are obviously they're conceptual drawings. They're not engineered drawings. So when we go to engineering, we would look farther into those details about, if we need to squeeze out some stuff, to squeeze in stuff, things like that.
Ron, how does this fit in with the comprehensive plan?
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Corey, this was part of when we did the update to our comprehensive plan, the Parks and Recreation was one of our priority departments that we were trying to work on projects,
So
just like here.
it reflects the spirit of that.
Yes. Yep.
And so does the school have any part, I know I'm on that committee, but.
It's been a while since we've gotten to meet.
I know. So is it, okay, it's their land, but we're gonna foot the bill, or do they have some part of helping us with this bill?
So currently, that's not lined out. Now, what's gonna get difficult and what we're gonna have to tackle, and I'm hoping National Park Service, some of their expertise can help us with this, also is laying out how that funding works, because some places won't let us do work on the school's property, or some funding sources won't. Some will, some won't. Because we have an MOU, more will than won't, but, and because they're a government entity themselves. Now, that can also help us on two ways. We might be able to apply for funding, and they might be able to apply for funding, and to get that cocktail of funding we talk about, and kind of do some
Okay.
multi-levels there also.
It probably wouldn't hurt for us to get together.
I agree.
Okay.
I'll stand for any more questions on.
I got one, is there any termination on the MOU? What's the renewal rate on that? Every year, every 5 years?
I'll have to look at that. I'm not actually absolutely sure when the renewal is on it. I know it's a long-term. It's a long-term MOU, but I don't have the exact date on it.
Okay, then just one other question is that when you brought this up before, I mentioned not parking spaces, but parking lots. Speaking with Eric, as far as the events, I mean, the incident commands that have to come in, and basically, just a concern to a degree, unless we get the go-ahead from Eric, is there gonna be enough parking spaces in town for when we do have another event? Because we've seen the overflow from that parking lot being literally full to spilling over into other areas. And is there gonna be the capacity, if we do have an event, to house or to have all of these resources come in?
Definitely, and I do think that's something that when we kind of go through engineering or finalize design phases, that we really need to look at. So like the parking lot on the south side of the drawing, it has a lot of landscaping, a lot of curbing in the middle of it, really beautification, really pretty. Is that something we take out all that landscaping and curving to make a large flat lot? It's nearly impossible to find flat ground in this area. And so any flat ground we can make for a flat ground area, those are ideas definitely I think we need to put into the programming and the figuring of how this is laid out.
Matthew, Counselor Letterman, I know this is down the road, but Kids Connection is near and dear to a lot of people.
Oh, we've discussed it.
If we can make sure there's something to succeed at.
And that's.
Well, they're talking about rebuilding something once the plan goes.
Yeah, and I would like to, this plan doesn't call out.
I didn't see it on this.
So this plan doesn't call it out. Like I said, I adopted this plan from my predecessor,
That's
but
why I'm asking. It's not on there.
I would definitely want to put a playground in this property. That is something I would like to add. And, I'm one that, I would like to keep some of the essence of the current, Kids Connection with like the fence around it type of thing with the entry and kind of that same feel, with a new modern wooden plastic.
Yeah, because our businesses, we raised $45,000 plus all of that fencing. You see names and they had to pay to put their child or their family's name on there, so.
And we replace those every year and we recarve them when one's broken, we
We spent
recarve it.
$45,000 just sanding and painting and replacing wood. So that's why we're looking at putting new.
Yeah, but I do want to keep that essence of,
And I'm speaking selfishly as a grandparent. I frequent the park. Also, the park to me symbolizes 9/11 because that's when it was built.
It does.
the first day it was 9/11,
It was.
2001.
Mayor, Council, I just wanted to touch a little bit on the funding components that you all had questions on. When Matt made the presentation to the school board, they were in line with what had been presented to the committee at the time. But the other piece was they asked the same question, where does funding come from? As Matt mentioned, we are looking at different components. I believe that once we get feedback from this entity back, they're going to say two things. They're going to say, one, the size of this project is so significant that you're either going to have to look for some type of like state funding to participate in this, and/or you may have to look at bonds for something of this magnitude. And it's a shared bond program is 90% what I believe they're going to come back at and tell you. They'll probably say if this is a shared facility, more than likely the school district and the city will have to look at bonds for something like this because it's such a large scale piece. Outside of that, the other option for something like this is public-private partnerships. I don't think it's necessarily a good option for this approach specifically, and it can be. We could get funding from it and look to partner. The issue becomes Once you start bringing in that public-private partnership, they're going to look to get their ROI back, which means you're going to have constant traffic in this area, which will definitely create a wedge between you all and the public with the amount of traffic that's going to be there. So doesn't mean it's not on the table. I do think it's an option, but there was a concern with that option. But you will probably be looked at as either significant grants, bonds, or state funding that would have to go to a project like this.
So, not to belabor the point, but Counselor Letterman, you know, we've got 3 new school board members, a new superintendent. We need to make sure
And they're already on board. We've already had a meeting with the
Good.
new people,
Okay,
so.
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we haven't had any discussion about the indoor facility.
So the indoor facility you'll see is called out number 21 on the big plan here. So that is the cost estimate I shared did not include that facility, correct? Just from my experience, I've had the opportunity to build a few of those. Those facilities are expensive. The one in Lovington I built had a competition swimming pool, a warm water therapy pool, indoor fitness area, and 1 basketball gym and a rock wall, and it was $19 million. And that was 6 years ago, I believe, around there, 6-8 years ago. And so the one in Hobbs, the Center of Recreation Excellence, the core, which we wouldn't want to build something on that scale, but that facility, 10 years ago when it was built was $67 million. So those facilities are expensive, but that's where we look at those bigger funding options. We do need to, we're looking on long-term stuff of having basketball goals or basketball gyms and multiple of them so we can have our leagues and expand our leagues and,
And an indoor swimming pool.
Indoor
so
swimming pools.
Kids can learn to swim when it's
Year-round.
packed at the
Definitely.
swimming pool.
Well, we did try to do that, and the people turned it down, but maybe
It was
it's a
close.
different kind of people that are willing to put their money where their mouth is.
And it's looking at some of these professional groups, like this, the professional services from National Park Service to help us with these bonds. Just, they might come back and say, hey, as the village, you might not be able to pass this bond. But the schools will be able to pass this bond because they're closer to the kids and it's for youth sports and youth, youth
It's the
stuff.
same
and
people, though.
But it's packaged different.
It's all loopholes and
Yeah.
smoke.
And-
And some of this is for senior center too, so
Yeah.
I think that you could work, with those grants that seem to be a lot of them floating around.
And some of it too is we're looking at some water, like how can we make this part of the watershed? Whether it's, there's options of, well, you make it all turf and then you actually have drainage underneath it, that then it becomes a watershed where it captures all the water and then the drainage underneath goes on down. And then that opens us up for different funding because it's a watershed project versus just a recreation project. And so that's these professional services we're looking for to help us. What changes, and you know what, the watershed project, it might make it twice as expensive or more, but then they say, yeah, it'll be a whole lot more expensive, but we can find you funding for it easily, types of things. And so that's the way, trying to think outside the box to make a project like this happen.
So thinking outside the box, and I've received a phone call when we were working on the ICIP that, we've got an athletic center already. Have we ever
Oh, yeah.
considered?
We've talked about it, the price was astronomical and a lot of repairs.
Yeah, that's part of the problem with some, and there's some other properties we've looked at, stuff just for other things that are for sale, but they're way above, the appraised value of them. And as we all know, as the village, we can't pay above the appraised values, and so we're just kind of stuck in the water with those.
Yeah, Joe called us too before, and we've tried to do it, but the price was so high, and then we were gonna have extensive repairs, and so, that's a good thought. It's right there located. Go in there, do some remodel and
Exactly.
work on the pool.
Yeah, and they've done some remodeling to the pool and stuff, but it does still need some.
Okay.
And then I hear it's got a wicked handball court in it. Is that still right, Mike?
It does.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a champ in the back row over there. Twinkle Toes, he's pretty quick, man.
Yes.
Well, thanks for all your work.
Yes.
So where are we at on trying to move forward?
Exactly.
So, well, funding, I'm hoping with this grant, we'll be able to, we'll get
So
this
you have
grant.
enough information to start going after grants?
So I'm hoping with this National Park Service grant, the technical service will help, the technical service side of things. They'll be able to help us on some. We need to meet back as a committee, like, so we did about this time last year. So we need to meet back, go over some of those edits and those changes and what differences we need to, different things we need to address moving forward. But I think that's where our next step is, meeting with the committee to see what next steps are.
And by the time you get this done, you may have, in these floodplain areas, you may have another dog park, so you don't have to double dip that money there. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not,
exactly.
I don't know if that's figured in phase one, is it?
It
the
is.
Same green, okay.
Yes. Yeah, so that temporary dog park's figured in phase one because the new dog park is also in phase one, so it's take the old one out, put the new one in.
Mayor, to a comment you just made, this entire structure is technically in the floodplain now. And so if there's any new structures that are created within this, they would have to be built to the new building requirements. And
Even the
Indoor facility?
locker room?
everything that's built in this area now has to be met to the new floodplain
So
standard.
that kind of throws out all these price quotes then?
I would say 100%. I think once you identify funding, once the technical requirements come back, next steps are going to be to present those changes to the committee, then to the school board, and then to the council. If everyone is on the same page, we would probably look at starting to advance on engineered drawings to get a better idea of what requirements we're going to have to build towards, if there's any structures. And then with that, then you could start looking for your funding options, so you're shovel-ready.
Because I don't believe the indoor facility is in the floodplain.
Yeah, that's up on a hill.
It's up on the hill, and we were there during the flooding. I don't ever remember it getting that wet over there. So I'd like to see
Of course,
that.
we still have a pond down below.
Mhm.
Duck pond.
I think it comes right up to it. I think you're right. I think it comes right up to the property line, but we need to double check.
Because even Station 2 is in a floodplain, isn't it?
Station 2 is fully, or half of it's in a floodplain.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And then the last item I have is Midtown parking lot striping. The north side of all Midtown, so our Rio Street along with the free parking we have,
Eagle.
kind of behind the art gallery is all done. We did it last week.
Wait a minute, where?
There's behind the Michelle's or the art gallery, Mountain Art.
Oh,
We have
Michelle's on the other side.
Or sorry, Michelle's on the other side,
So-
Mountain Art Gallery.
That's village parking?
Yeah, we own that one. There's an entrance there off of Sudworth between it and Lost Hiker Brewing.
Mm-hmm.
That's our parking lot we own right there, and then.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
I thought that belonged to those people. They sure treat it like it.
They did treat it, but it is free parking.
And Ron and I always pick that trash up over there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's free parking there, and then also on Rio Street behind the Hidden Tap and Atypical in that area is also our parking, so we do have striped that.
What about on down where I think Brunel Herb owns?
So they own that end down there.
And one of the concerns that we have is the railing, when you pull up there, I don't know if I showed it to you or not, if you go over, you're
Yeah.
big drop, and so there's some concerns there that we
Yeah,
need to.
we'll look at that for a project for this summer to put a railing in there. And then, on the south side of, Sudworth, there's, we do have some parking lots there. We've done about 50 to 60% of those parking lots. And so the other ones are, still visible stripes, but we will want to touch them up just as the weather gets better. We like to do it on a warmer weather day. You can do it a little cooler, but we like it a little warmer day, so it kind of bakes in and dries it. a little
Oil-based
faster.
paint.
Yes.
And so what are the width of the parking lots?
So I believe there are 10-foot spaces.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Matt. Mr. Eric?
All right. Hello,
Hey,
good
Eric.
afternoon. How are y'all?
We're good. How are you?
Good, sir. So I have a siren joke.
Okay.
So why did the outdoor warning siren get a promotion?
Why did the outdoor siren get a promotion?
It really knows how to sound the alarm during a crisis.
Nice.
You can
Well,
think,
Dad, save that one. That's a dad joke if I've ever heard one.
Eric, I'm still working through it.
That's okay, we'll explain later.
Oh, it must be for old people, not so old.
all right, Andrew, we can go to the next slide. So this is just an update on the current project of the outdoor warning system. So these are just the deliverables. We're installing 9 new sirens and a new base control station at the Ruidoso PSAP, the Public Safety Answering Point. We're switching to just a Commander One system, so it's an encrypted system. So if anyone can recall what happened a couple weeks ago at the Downs, where their siren system went off.
Yeah.
Well, one person found the correct tone to then set off the siren. We're working on the same system, so if you find the correct tone frequency on your radio, you can set off the siren system
On your handheld?
on your handheld.
Wow. So you just key it and it'll set it up?
Yes,
Really?
sir. So we're moving away from that where it's encrypted, and so once we have this system in place, no one can find the correct frequency or tone and set off the siren system. And then also training for emergency personnel, documentations, policy manuals, all of that good stuff. Next slide, please. So the 4 responsibility areas, so you have Omni Warner Federal Signal, you have the Village of Ruidoso, you have Mountain Electric, and you have Otero Electric. With that said, Omni Warn is responsible for managing the project as a whole. They're partnering with us as well as Otero Electric now for the uprighting of the poles. Again, they're the technical experts on the siren system itself. We're providing access, and then we're making sure that we can procure, which we have done, the siren poles as well as the system itself. And then Mountain Electric is responsible for the installation of electrical services at the site.
How is that ran?
How is
Is it overhead or underground?
It is going to be overhead and underground. So with new P&M requirements at the Davis and Wax Pine location, there's no overhead there anymore because of the fire burned that system.
Where is
So
that, Eric?
That's over off of, yes,
It's not over off LL Davis to Davis. Where's Davis at?
Davis,
It's really straight
yeah,
up
right
that
over
way.
Huh?
behind the
Albertsons,
police station.
Davis Drive,
Oh,
Yellow
that's right.
pine,
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
spruce,
I
whatever.
was thinking of that little cul-de-sac. Okay.
Yes. So we had a siren up there originally, but it did succumb to the fire. So that electrical system that was present there got burned up. So now P&M is requiring we dig and make sure it's underground, crossing the road instead of overhead crossing the road. And then we did finalize, we got the quote in this morning. Otero Electric is going to provide the uprighting of the 50-foot poles, digging the pole, the holes for the poles, and then installing the sirens onto the poles, and then making sure they're uprighted. So those are the responsibility areas. Where are we at in the process? Next slide, please. Oh, next slide. We're still under procurement and delivery, so they are still being made in Federal Signal's warehouse and production assembly lines. and then hopefully we can get these delivered. From the conversation I had with our OmniWarn rep, is out of the 9 sirens, 5 of them have already been produced. So we're waiting on the additional ones to be produced.
And all
then
these will
they'll
have
ship
voice too?
Yes, so out of the 9 sirens, 3 of them will have voice capabilities.
just 3?
Just 3. With that, we can move on to the next slide. So the timeline for this, manufacturing and equipment, and everything goes to plan. The delivery date of the equipment should be May 30th. Then we'll have a shipment date of June 10th. And then a siren installation, which will take about 10 days, and then the testing of the system, 2 days, and then 7 days, give or take, for when folks are on the ground installing the system. The 2 variable factors is working with Otero Electric's schedule to actually upright the poles, as well as P&M working with them to make sure that we can connect the poles and set up new services. So those are the 2 really agencies that we are relying on. Anything changes, it's going to be those 2 services. Next slide.
Do you think we'll have those up and operational before, I mean?
It says June 23rd,
23rd.
2025.
So it's not, we're in fire season.
Yeah, that's true.
And so what I would like to reiterate is we are not going without a system. We have a system here that is in place. It is functional. So if we do have an emergency situation, the public will be notified through not just the iPause or the Call Me Ruidoso system, but also the current system that we have now.
Okay.
So we're not going unprotected by this system. Right. So Mayor, Council, to y'all's point of the different siren types, you have the rotator, which is the one that is the 2001 130 siren. That is just the single tone siren. That's the one that you would hear today if we set off our
Can you
system.
not test it right there?
Yep, you can actually click the link. I don't know how loud it's going to be.
You might know Harbor Freight for affordability.
Oh, and we get a commercial?
No, performance and
Sweet.
So that's what you would hear with this siren.
What's the other one do?
The other one is the voice siren, and you'll actually hear the voice.
Attention. This is a test of the outdoor warning system. This is only a test. If this were an actual emergency, you should tune to local media for more information. This is only a test.
And then it would followed by the sound that you heard prior. So the only thing is that this is a more advanced system. We can say whatever the messages are. So if we actually move on to the next slide.
So who's going to do the voice?
The company.
They do have one. I just want to make sure it's clear.
Yes, and they'll space it out to make sure that once it reverberates off of the canyon walls, it won't overlap and make
I thought maybe you were going to
inaudible.
Well, I was going to make sure Joe, I was in line before Joe.
Yeah, we'll have tryouts for that.
So you're going to have it in Spanish too, or just?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
And so with the siren locations, on the shorter part of the list is the current outdoor warning system. So that comprises of 7 sirens. Those are what's in practice now. On the longer list, we're adding 9 additional sirens, but we're keeping, 4 of those sirens from the other list. But we are decommissioning 2 of those on the other side of the list. So the Sudderth Drive over by that Mexican food restaurant.
Narrow it down.
I know.
Garcia's.
Garcia's. That one's going to be decommissioned, and then the Sudderth Drive over by Great Wall, that one will be decommissioned as well. But we are adding multiple ones, so Fire Station 1, Wingfield Park, White Mountain Sports Complex, Cherokee Well, Gavilan Canyon and Hole, Cree Meadows Golf Course. That is off of Cree Meadows and Paradise. It's that triangle. Parks and Rec usually put some holiday decorations in there.
Oh, yeah.
Wax Pine and
So
Davis.
you're gonna have a pole there,
Yes, sir.
and these are all metal 50-footers.
Yes, sir. Pikes Peak, and then Eagle Creek Sports Complex.
Why Eagle Creek?
Eagle Creek, because that is a hotspot for a bunch of activities. And so with monsoon seasons, with everything that happens in that vicinity, one of those sirens is actually going to be a voice siren. And so if we need to talk to the public there, we can be able to talk to the public there for an emergency. So it's not just a tone siren, it can also be used as a PA system. So if we had a flooding event, we can tell people, please shelter in place, just stay there while it floods, and then they can leave. Or if we have an active shooter situation, PD can get on scene, they can use that siren specifically to talk to the public.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Are you gonna be able to utilize any of the downtown speakers on the public address at the same time?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's nice.
Are you still gonna have to test twice a month?
So that's something that, with the duration of the outgoing equipment that we have present, we like to test it 2 times a month just to make sure that it's up and operational. I would pose that question on the governing body moving forward with this new system. We can move it to just once a month testing, but we would still want to test it, but probably not as frequent. But that's up to you as well as your constituents, what they would like. Again, 3 of those sirens will be the federal signal modulator sirens. Those are the voice capability. So it's Wingfield Park. It's going to be the Eagle Street Sports Complex, as well as the White Mountain Sports Complex. Again, those are just tourist hotspot, local hotspots that we just need to add additional information about whatever the hazard might be.
So Fire Station 3, that's Upper Canyon?
Yes, ma'am.
So can does that go out so that everybody can hear?
So if we actually move to the next slide.
Oh,
This is a current sound map of the current outdoor warning system. So as of right now, with our siren system that is in place today, not everyone can hear it. If we move and advance to the next slide, you can see that the coverage drastically improves. And so with that, unless, again, it is called the outdoor warning system because it's meant for people to be heard outside. But if you're really within the 90 to 80% range or the decibels range, you can hear it inside. It's when you get into the outskirts, that 70 decibel, where if you have the or the radio turned on, the TV turned on, you're not going to hear it
And
inside.
if the wind's blowing, it's,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah.
All of these sirens will be on AC power and then DC power for backup, so they'll be on battery operated if the system does go down. Again, it's on that redundancy system, so it's not just the frequencies, it's also going to have the backup system of cellular networks and the radio frequencies and all of that good stuff too.
The battery backups, you'll have a plan, a program for servicing those and
Yes, sir.
making sure they work. Okay, very good.
Other than that, I'll stand for any additional questions.
Anybody? Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
All right,
Mayor,
thanks,
and-
y'all.
thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Mayor and council, final item I have is the New Mexico State Aviation Conference begins tomorrow at 8 a.m. and the Queen of the Airports, Jane Lucero, has invited each one of you to attend if you want to show up to the convention center. It starts tomorrow, ends Friday at noon, I believe, but she's inviting all the governing body to attend, so. And
Ron, I had a couple of items, Mayor, related to the manager's report. I see the fencing going up at Meacham Meadows, that's great.
Yes,
Thank you
that's
for
gonna be
making
good.
that happen. And I alluded earlier to the comprehensive plan. Do we have a timeline on?
I know that Michael and Matthew are working on that. They're proposing and they're writing an RFP. We're going to have to do it by RFP. Last time we updated, we just did through CES, and that's where we selected Site Southwest. But they're going to be drafting an RFP and advertising it. Michael did, our conversation, City of Roswell just awarded an RFP for their comp plan. It's a company, a planning company out of Texas. Looked like very interesting, so. So that'll happen pretty quick. Alex, do you have a timeline on that? Okay.
Thank you.
Are we going to do that around January? Because it seemed like 2019 is in January is when we did our last one. Seemed like it was in the winter time. I had just got on the council.
So Mayor and Council, what we're hoping to put together for you is we'll pull Roswell's RFP, take a look at what they had, make some adoptions to that. We'll probably go out to RFP after that within the next couple of weeks. If we put it out for about 4 weeks, you're looking at maybe 7 to 8 weeks before we actually get an award and everything's completed. Once we do an award, we'll be looking at a timeline. So you're putting yourself roughly at September, August, September timeline of when we try and get everything set up to at least do the initial engagement with council and then move forward from there. So August, September timeframe is what we're shooting for.
Okay. Thank you.
You'll do it during the week?
We will work with your schedules to figure out what's going to work best. If during the week works and we can knock out 2 or 3 days, we can do that. I know everyone's booked on weekends and that's difficult, so more than likely that may not work, but whatever works with your all schedule, we can set up.
So we do it and then we go out to the public?
There's going to be an engagement piece. So what are you all looking for high level? What's the idea? And honestly, it depends on the entity that comes in and what their philosophy is. Some may want to do the engagement with the public and surveys and public hearings and bring that back to you first. Some of them like to engage the elected bodies first and say, okay, what are you looking for at that 100,000 foot level so that they know what to look for when they engage. It just depends on what they're going to submit back as a proposal, so.
And Mayor and Council, we'll look back at when we updated the last one, and that went smooth, and we had, it went really well. And then we had a piece where the governing body, we had all the directors in one meeting. We brought in the public, we brought in some business owners, and just, so we'll look back at that, and we have all the information on that, so.
I thought that was a really good one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And we put it out there early enough so the public that wanted to set in on certain topics that they could add that they had interest. And a lot of them had expertise that they could really give a lot of value.
Yeah.
No, we can definitely make sure that's a part of it.
Good.
Okay?
Wow, that's a lot of info.
Anything on the manager's report anybody wants to ask that they didn't see?
I'd just like to ask one question. Since you put Senate Bill 7 in your manager's report talking about the legislation passed to allow municipalities to acquire stormwater drainage facilities and create a utility out of that, is there anything that the village is looking at in that direction, or?
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Eby, that's something that we'll look at. And once if say the governor, if she doesn't veto that, those are things, there's several of them in there that we're going to look at. I know the other one, the mayor was in that one hearing, is allowing for the village, it would not be an anti-donation if somebody needed a water line all the way to their home. They could apply for that. We could be able to install it all the way to the home on a project and not be an anti-donation. And the other one we're looking at, Mayor, is the horses.
Yep.
And haven't heard a lot on that either, but going back to yours.
Ron, what was passed regarding the horses? I got a call about it.
Birth control,
Yes.
relocation, overpopulation, actually having people do research on what the land would support for animals. If there's too many, then they would relocate them. They're talking about a bunch of land that state owns, a large area ranch of some kind, that they were talking about relocating them. Sounds a little bit
So-
like Pinocchio. They go to the Magic Island and, anyway, but they do, yeah, they, but then the specializing in darting. And then we had actually WHOA, which is not Wild Horses of America, but it's something like that, that they were in support of it. And then just if they're over, and then the interbreeding is getting so bad, moving the studs and stuff
So,
around.
what do you think the governor's reaction?
I think she's going to do it because we've talked to her. We had Joy with the Association of Counties. And what's the other county? They were just so upset.
That was up by Bernalillo because we had the
They had
state
90
senator from
horses
the.
and they didn't know what to do with it. And we got like, oh yeah, we got that many over here. Yeah, so we've been talking about this for years and we got no traction. This year we got a lot. And so I feel like she's going to go ahead and push forward.
So would that bill supersede what the district court said?
Yeah, because that was his opinion. It's never even been an actual ruling. Nobody's ever even tested. It's what we found out. So it would supersede that. But there's still, there's some things of making sure there's no slaughter, that they can't be sent to Mexico or Roswell or wherever.
Right.
So a lot of those things are going to be done.
And again, to Counselor Eby's question, we'll be having our district meeting here, and I forgot the date here. Jenny, do you have that date? I saw on the calendar, and we'll be able to get that
What's
further.
that?
The district meeting they're going to have, it's a virtual for all the districts.
Yeah. And then there was one section they were talking about adoption of the horses where you could have advertising that painted on the side of them and let them wander around the community.
For advertising?
I was just fishing there to say, I don't know who brought that idea up, but I think it might have some merit. But that, they're wanting to make sure that they maintain a healthy population and that if it gets too many, that they have a way to move them. So.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you. Good job. There's a lot of information. Every time we get an update on that master plan for the White Mountain, it gets more daunting because it's so much money. We're up to about 20 million from 2022 dollars. So we better get started soon or it'll be 60 million.
And that's the hard part, just like you said a while ago, you do all this planning and then you got to get the funding. And, people are like, well, we're not doing anything. So it's just the hard part.
Yeah. And they, for the most part, understand because when you're in business, you go get your capital and your investment and you have all that and you're planning and then you roll. Well, government's right back at you.
Yep.
So, all right, we'll have reports from municipal officials, and while y'all are giving them, I got a phone call from the tribe. They're going to give me an update real quick on the fire that I'll share with you guys.
Okay.
So, Joe, would you like to start?
Okay, well,
And I'll step out and call.
I just want to say thank you to all the village employees for keeping the village going. Congratulations to everyone who is a new hire and also who got promoted. I know every year it seems like there's a lot of people that are leaving, good folks that have been here for many years. But I believe that the environment of the village will be a testament for those working for the village and for the residents of the village to stay on for many years. So thank you again. To end of the Xterra announcement there, that was I'm glad I went because it was a very good event, and I really liked Steve Andrus as he talked about why Xterra came to Ruidoso. Of course, Eddie reached out to him to begin with and why they decided to stay here. And so I think that's a testament not only to Xterra as an organization, but to Ruidoso as a village and the type of people that are here and that live here. So that was a good event, and I'm glad I went. It's going to be a great summer with Xterra. Also noticing on the tourism report that It was a live feed for that event, for that announcement, and there
Yeah,
were
that was good. I got to
44,000
see
people
it.
on that,
Yeah,
and there were 44,000 shares.
I watched it. It was really good.
So that's going to be it's out there, and that was, that's only been a couple of weeks now.
That's encouraging.
So if they're docking 44,000 shares already of that meeting, then it's definitely getting out there. So Ruidoso is changing, just to kind of look at the upper Sutterth revitalization. I remember when I was a kid, the only thing on that street right there between Sutterth and the Circle was Tucker's, a post office, and a livery stable where you go ride horses.
Yeah.
That was it. But now, times are changing, and Ruidoso's growing up. Ruidoso's growing. So we look for great things in the future, and hopefully we don't have any fires. So, thank you. Susan?
Go ahead, Susan.
You know, I talked a lot during the meeting. I don't think I have anything. Thank you.
No,
I'm
you got
Now,
something, Susan.
Don't be
You
bashful.
got-
There's something in your craw. I know there is.
I've got a lot.
Counselor Corey.
Real quickly, Mayor Pro Tem, Ron and I spoke to the Rotary Group last week, and I sincerely appreciate Ron being there to answer the questions I didn't have answers for. I attended a meeting of the Ruidoso Chamber of Commerce last week as well, and gave them an update on all the good things happening with the village. So that's all.
Great. Counselor Jackson.
Thank you. Well, two things. I wanted to do a shout out to Eddie, all the work that's been done with Xterra and with Ironman. When medicine looks at Ironman, we think of hips and knees, but I know it's something different than that. And the other thing I wanted to do was do a shout out to our finance department. Specifically Judy Sarkovich and all the employees that she has under her. I don't think many people realize, as I got to realize, that unless you have an audit that's clean, it puts you in dire straits. And not just from the state's perspective, but from any of those state funds that you might go to for grants. Because unless it stands and it's acceptable, once it's gone through three hands, which is our department, our outside auditors, the state auditor, and then back to us with a blessing or not, it could put you in desperate straits, and I think there is a history of that, but there sure isn't now. And I believe this will be the third year or the fourth year that it will be an audit that stands on its own without correction. And there can't be enough said about that. The work that goes behind that is phenomenal, and the hours and the preparation and the back and forth. So that's all I have to say, and thank you.
Yeah, great job.
Thank you very much. I'll try and fill in until the mayor gets back. No, not really. I do want to thank Ron and Levi and who else went with us? Adam chauffeured me around last week. I did get to see the houses at 603 Meacham.
Very nice.
They are, man, I'm amazed.
I'm ready to move in.
So I know, that's where I was thinking about that, but that's an exciting thing that will be happening once it's all completed. Because I know we all get questions, when can we move in or when are they available and stuff. So that was a good tour, and I did get them to tour me up to the diversion in Upper Canyon. A lot of work. I was taken back by how much work was not done and how much we're behind. So there it is, the 50 days or whatever. So I'm just hoping, because it's twofold. We're usually running really good melt off right now, but it's just down to a trickle, and it doesn't look like anything's gonna be coming down in quantity. Then we did go to the lake. I should have checked the lake before I bought my fishing license, but that's where.
If you call in a wine enough, they'll give you a refund.
That's what I'm wondering, so, but I'll hit Alto, anyway, that's it. It was amazing how low it was, and hopefully that we do get lots of moisture here in the summer for the monsoons, and that the diversion will be fully operating. And was happy to see that big oil tank driving into the street department. I mean, that's top of the line stuff, so I really enjoyed that. The other thing I was going to mention, and thank you, Amanda, for bringing up all that information from the Forest Service, because those were the most questions I have. What if our hot shots? I didn't even know they were gone, but, you know, what if they leave? And that's where I just filled in. Oh, usually they send someone else to cover them from somewhere else, but it's good to know what our personnel is there plus ours. And the upgrading of the sirens, I mentioned that. We're going to be upgrading our equipment, and I didn't know that announcements could be made in Spanish. That would be very helpful as well.
Yeah.
And let's see what else. Our SVP banquet, appreciation banquet, is this Friday. I thank all our senior volunteers that help out. And there's a lot of hours that they contribute to the community. I don't know if they got the number or the savings that they're giving these workstations or just helping out, but I know it's pretty big, because I know T-Bone, he takes a head count for all his cleanups and duties, and it adds up a lot. So that's something good. Also, next week on Wednesday the 16th, Thursday the 17th, and Friday the 18th, it's Holy Week services at noon at Gateway Church on Sutterth. Come by for a quick 30-minute sermon and then have lunch. It's a combination of quite a few churches, and I don't know if St. Eleanor's is participating.
I hadn't heard.
So probably not. That kind of,
Well, don't they always, and
They
then have
always- but they-
enchiladas for Friday?
I haven't
and that
heard
was
anything
the whole
announced
reason
at
I
Mass.
was gonna say, the enchiladas from Isabel Reynolds are the best. That's where I know that's some good enchiladas. But anyway, it's open to the public, anyone, everyone. Just, I would encourage you to come and listen to that.
And that's
then
Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday?
Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at noon at Gateway Church, right there by Wells Fargo. And my statement that I always say in the springtime, Mayor.
Keep your gas half full?
Yep. Keep that tank half full is empty. And I tried teaching that to my granddaughter, and when I looked in there, it was down to a quarter tank. And she said, well, I don't get paid till next week. And it's like, nope, you should be walking if it's at half a tank. But anyway, but that is something that I think we all should keep in mind. I know I did that with the department for many years, and it's something we've experienced that last year. So that's all I have, Mayor, and everybody's talked, so it's your
Okay.
turn.
Oh, so you finished out. Good.
Yep.
Well, we will move on. I've talked enough, but a lot of good things happening, a lot of work still to go. But we have made progress, and that's the good thing. And I appreciate our staff staying after it over and over, Michael, and the guys staying after every bit of it. And just the extra duties that they do. We're excited about what Eddie gets out there.
Yep.
You know, he's always fishing, and he's landing some big ones. And so we appreciate that extra effort. So good times, exciting times coming. We'll go to regular items. Item number 1, discussion and possible action on adoption of resolution 2025-11, a resolution of the acceptance and approval of the fiscal year audit. And we're excited to hear this.
Mayor, councilors, in front of you is the resolution adopting the fiscal year 24 audit, which has probably been the earliest we've ever seen an acceptance. So our auditor is in Hawaii, so he
Nice.
could not be here, so I'll try to give a little spiel. We did receive an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion that you can get, and we did not have any findings this year, so that's good. So I'd like to thank my finance department and also all the admin assistants and all the office managers that are in the village and Parks and Rec and the senior center and distribution and the treatment plant. So I
And the
know.
Grammy goes to, because you sound like you were thanking everybody. It takes everybody,
Thank
doesn't
you,
it?
Mayor, right?
Yeah, it
and
takes
stuff.
everybody.
Yeah, so it does take everybody, so that's the reason we have the controls where we do and why we make you toe the line and stuff, so that's good. The state auditor did issue us the release letter on March 25th, and we did ask for the early release, so it was a public document as of March 30th. So this is just allowing us to accept the audit and allow me to pay the final progress billing to our auditor, Patillo, Brown, and Chris Garner.
Yep.
So, Mayor, Judy, how long is our contract with Patillo Brown?
So because the audit's under the $60,000 professional services limit, I do a year to year,
Okay.
so.
How long
But
how long
per the state auditor, we can do it, I believe, 10 years.
Is it 10? That we can stay with the same firm?
You can.
How long have we been using it?
So Chris has jumped firms, so
we
this is
followed him?
yeah, so this is, I believe, Patillo's third year.
Okay, as long as we've got plenty of runway.
Oh, yes.
Changing accounts is a nightmare.
Well,
Right? So, any other questions?
Judy, thank you so much.
Outstanding.
Dr. Jackson said it all, but thank you very much, because being a banker, I know when you get a finding, it follows you until you can show them that you're doing it the right way. So, not having any findings to you and to your staff and to all of the employees. I know when we're out, I'm looking at my receipt.
I know,
It's gonna
yeah.
be mad. So thank you very much. Good, congratulations, good job.
Thank you.
Mayor, I move approval of adoption of Resolution 2025-11, a resolution of the acceptance and approval of the fiscal year 2024 audit.
Second.
Any discussion? Nada? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Corey?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Okay, thank you very much, Judy.
Thank you, Judy.
And we'll have the handball champion come up, item number 2. I think he's got some competition, though. Discussion and possible action on task order RFP 2024-3P-BH-5 for Starlight Road
Yay.
emergency repair work, construction phase services with Bohannon Houston, Inc. for total project cost of $144,082.97, including GOT. So this is just the Starlight portion.
Yes, sir. This is just the Starlight portion, or it's Starlight and Paradise.
Oh, this is all Paradise too?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's for everything. So these were our on-call engineers. This is just a task order for the construction phase services for Bohannon and Houston.
Any questions?
I move that we accept task order RFP 2024-003P-BH-05 for Starlight Road emergency repair work, construction phase services with Bohannon Houston, Inc. for a total project cost of $144,082.97, including New Mexico GRT.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Next is discussion and possible action on agreement with Decker Technologies, Inc. for short-term rental software and services awarded through RFP 2025-03 008P in the amount of $126,564.75, including New Mexico GRT. Mr. Koenig.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This is a contract that will allow us to upgrade significantly the software program that we'll be using for our short-term rental program. The contract we do have for 1 year with 9 renewals, and we do have this price locked in for the next 10 years, provided we're looking to have the same level of service and the same add-ons that we have selected with them. We will be, should you approve this contract, looking to engage them as soon as tomorrow or whenever the day after it's signed, so that we can start data transfer. We can start working with them on getting the information that they will need to do. Also, because this company has been courting us for a couple years, they are fairly well familiar with our terrain and where we are, and so they should be able to hit the ground running with what we're going to be doing. As the various components are ready to go live, we will do so. So there's a different number of pieces that will be part of this, but we anticipate having everything ready to go July 1st.
Mayor, Alex, part of this project was additional personnel. Where are we at?
That is something, actually on Thursday morning, I have my meeting with the internal people to talk about the budget for next year. And so we are preparing a job description for that and putting that into the process for consideration.
And that's a piece of this. The rest was raising the rate that was going to fund the positions, correct?
Correct.
And so you're in the process of finding those folks.
Yes. In fact, actually, this morning we had somebody that is paying attention to things and has dropped off a resume. We have 3 or 4 of those people already that expressed interest in that position.
And then would Christie be over those people?
That is under discussion.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Mayor, Alex, is there an accrual account so that there are monies available as this rolls over? It sounds like we have a 9-year option once the contract's completed. In other words, will there be an account labeled for this amount should at 1 year's end we need to renew and go again?
How are you funding it? It's being funded through the program.
I'll let the finance director speak.
He had that deer in the headlight look. Did you notice? I didn't know if I should gun it and take him out or if I was going to pull over and honk.
Oh, but he knew that help was on the way.
Councilor Jackson, Mayor, so what'll happen, even though we have the option to renew for the additional years, what we would do is budget on an annual basis, because he will have a termination clause built into the contract that he will be able to get out of the contract if for some reason the software doesn't pan out or anything. So we will just be taking it year by year. So probably this first year's cost to get the software up and running will come out of lodger's tax, but second year will be in the general fund where the fees and everything are collected.
Collected. Thank you.
Anything else?
I did have, on the scope of work, I kind of feel like Coughlin here, word checking.
You're starting to smell like him. so.
It's like, but on the scope of work, it states on page 2 of the agreement, it states Exhibit A, but when you go to Exhibit, it titled Exhibit E. So correct one or the other, because I hate for the company to say, well, we don't have an Exhibit E. We're sticking with Exhibit A, so, or vice versa, I don't know. But just make that correction on the agreement.
Okay, we shall check that to be sure we've got it correct.
But thanks, Tim.
But with the increase in the fees, and we maintain the 12 to 1,400 units, the revenue you're generating, the 400, goes to pay for personnel, and some of that money will then go to the paying off the software.
Correct. That is our intention, that we will have a self-sustaining program through the permit fees.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I have to applaud Councilor Salas for finding that My eyes crossed at page 33 and it went on to 68, so I wasn't.
He,
Got to addendums or appendices.
he had Gronk to do it, didn't you? Chat GPT, you know, he's, so Christie, do you have anything to add to it, or are you just ready to go with it?
I'm ready to go with it.
Okay.
I move that we accept Deckard Technologies Incorporated for short-term rental software and services awarded through RFP number 2025-008P in the amount of $126,564.75, including New Mexico GRT.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Solis?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Corey?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Very good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Next is we have a discussion, item number 4, and possible action on professional services agreement with Modrell, Sperling, Roll, Harris, and Sisk, PA, for water rights attorney services awarded through RFP number 2025-009P. Go to head.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, how are you?
Good, and yourself?
Good.
So, Mayor, Council, this is the award of RFP number 2025-009P for water rights attorney services to Modrell, Sperling. Modrell, thank you. Sperling, Rowell, Harris, and Sisk. One proposal was received to be evaluated in Modrell, Sperling, Rowell, Harris, and Sisk were the firm that submitted their evaluation, their proposal. And the committee discussed the response of evaluation criteria and references that they were provided, and then collectively, they scored the proposal. The proposal received very well, was very well prepared, and it met all the requirements of this procurement. And Modrell, sorry.
No, it's all right.
I'm so sorry. Modrell, Sperling, Rowell, Harris, and Sisk scored high, and it was within the budget of the services.
And more specifically, Maria O'Brien is the lead attorney.
Yes, Maria O'Brien is the attorney that we're working with.
And I must say, she's been great.
Yeah, good. That's
And did we get the signature a while ago? All right, so we're done. One's missing?
Missing one.
Who's missing? Who? Oh, the bank. So we got all the stuff from the state. She's been pushing that, so we're about to
Beautiful.
close on those rates.
Way to go, Jackie.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Think this is a home run, so.
For sure. Mr. Mayor, I move to approve agreement with Modrell, Sperling, Roll, Ham, and Sisk, PA, for water rights attorney services awarded through RFP number 2025-009P.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Corey?
Aye.
Counselor Solis?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Good
job.
job. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Discussion. Look who's coming.
Yep, Levi.
Did he get a haircut or did he lose a cap? Discussion and possible action on landscaping proposal for 603 Meacham Drive from White Sands Construction, Inc. through statewide pricing agreement 305-233-7 in the amount of $166,981.30, including New Mexico GRT.
Mayor, Council, yes, sir. I've been working with White Sands on a xeriscape landscaping plan. We went out to RFP originally on this and didn't have a lot of response.
I think you didn't have any, did you?
We had one, and they were deemed non-responsive. So worked with White Sands, and he worked with his subcontractors to provide us a plan it would be xeriscaping around the 10 homes there at 603, as well as the 2 cabins. And then it'll be native plantings and, you know, and they're also included in that will be walkways from the parking areas up to the homes. So I do think it's a good plan there as far as what they're, and it won't have irrigation, you know, it'll be, and included in this proposal will be watering of the plants until they get going. And then ideally, those plants won't require water long-term. They're, you know, gonna be desert plants, so.
Are you gonna put little fences around
Yep.
them?
Yes, ma'am.
Under D miscellaneous.
So this doesn't include the design phase.
They kind of gave us a plan in y'all's sheets.
Back
This is
page.
the design.
Okay, I'm just saying that the bid excludes design, so are we good? We've got a plan?
Yes, sir. So, Mayor and Counselor Corey, within the plan, Levi actually created what the scope of work is. And so each house is actually identified on what they're going to get. That's roughly 10-foot perimeter around each home. And so the design is really left out of that because the specifications were already listed.
Okay, thank you.
Beautiful.
So maiden grass, do we know what that is?
Yes, sir. It's like a kind of it's a taller grass. I know that this landscaper is the same landscaper that did Wingfield, the Wingfield house over there. So
I was gonna, yeah, that's a good one.
Grasses that Dick signs off on.
They-
It's one of the
That'll
approved
grow.
grasses, yes, sir.
That's not the kind you get to rub your toes to, Corey. This is the long, stringy,
long, tall.
Yes.
and Texas sage. So you're gonna have some sage bushes,
Yes, sir.
okay? Red yucca.
Yes, sir.
I was hoping we'd have some red hot pokers in there somewhere and Spanish broom. Weed barrier under rock. So they're gonna line everything underneath it. We just need to make sure that it's put down correctly. I've gone through that where it's not put down right.
I really liked at Wingfield, I thought that they did a very nice job, and they come back and replan if something died too, so.
So on this process, I know we've talked about it, that one area as you're coming in back to the left, where there's that spot, we talked about possibility of putting in a playground or something. Is that still an option?
Yes, sir. That or up in the kind of where the gazebo was, up in the center. That's still a possibility. Yes, sir.
So the one thing that we are evaluating is, and Levi brought this to my attention about 2 days ago, there may be a lighting issue that we're dealing with. We're working with White Sands, just on the number of light poles that are actually there. Another issue is that because of one of the cuts that had to be made, one of the parking areas had to be reshifted to the back half where that possible playground would be. So there's going to be a little bit more property that may be taken up, but we're still identifying that. But just so you all know that may be an issue or a concern.
Where are we at as far as tenants?
So there is a wait list that has been generated with Berkshire Hathaway. We're not going to be working with them on how that gets filled. They're going to be doing that. So they're waiting for us on a go date as far as when we can turn that over. As of right now, P&M is pending us making a payment. We are arguing what the actual cost of that payment is. Initially, for the work that was to be done, we had in our minds it would range between $25,000 to $50,000. We got a bill back of $90,000.
That's about right.
We are requesting that they break that down and identify what the actual costs are. What we've also
I think some of it's already been done.
well, the 3,000 of it has been done in the actual design work, but the rest of it needs to be done. What we've understood and there was an email that came back earlier today, I guess 3 weeks ago. P&M basically changed their policy on what they were paying for from meter to house versus what the individual is paying for. We asked if that was still included. They said, no, you're responsible for it. And then they said, well, we can provide X, but we're asking for a breakout, because if $90,000 is for the work that they're describing, we think there's an issue. And so we're gonna push back a little bit, but if at the end of the day, prices don't change, then we'll have to move forward quickly so that we can get the infrastructure put in.
Sounds like they're pushing.
It sounds like OSC, they changed the rules after you get started.
Well, there's so many new people too.
And we do have it in our budget as far as what we have as far as grant money to cover the landscaping as well as the proposed fencing along with the.
And if we have extra, it can be repurposed
Yes,
for
sir.
playground or whatever,
Yes, sir.
and painting the existing 2 cabins.
Yes, sir.
And so everything's covered, like the sheds that we're gonna put on there, that's all covered too.
They're made to match the properties.
Yeah, I love that.
This project it's about, what, 9 months late?
Yeah,
Almost a year.
Wow.
fire, flood, and then the fence up front will be next, but any questions on this? And it's going to be white crushed rock around the houses for like hardening?
Yes, sir.
And then we're going to have our own millings that we use for the road that'll be packed, have some oil and stuff over them. And then the rest of it, I was just trying to figure out, so is it going to cover all the ground out there or just paths and, so you'll still have natural space out there?
Yes, sir. It'll just be the 10 feet around the homes. So on most of the homes, it'll be the distance between the retaining blocks and the home itself around the back, which will help with erosion control. And then you have the crusher fines that are the walkways, and those will be compacted to establish a walkway from the parking areas to the home. But the majority of the site in between the homes will be just native soil.
Will we have to maintain that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 10 homes, so what is that?
Should be 12 homes, sir.
Should be what?
It's 12 homes, the 10 homes. that were-
12.
Yes,
The
sir.
other 2, yes. Okay, and the price on it's $166,000. So it's about what, 14,000 something a house? Okay. Any questions?
Nope.
And I don't know where the Garden Mart, is that a national company? You know any of these people?
They're-
T-Bone?
They're out of Carlsbad,
Mm-hmm.
company out of Carlsbad, yes, sir.
Okay. And we have it set up that once we get these planted, we can water them for a time period to get them growing?
Yes, sir. That 3 months they will be covering the watering to get them going.
Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve landscaping proposal for 603 Meacham Drive from White Sands Construction, Inc. through statewide pricing agreement 30-5-23-3-70 in the amount of $166,981.30, including New Mexico GRT.
Second.
And I just wanted to say thank you, Levi, for your follow-through on this.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir.
It's like you were dangling there for a while.
Any discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Corey?
Aye.
Counselor Solis?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to item number 6, which is discussion and possible action on purchase and installation of approximately 1,500 feet of fencing for 603 Meacham from Tri-West Fence through statewide price agreement number 50-5-25-3-50 in the amount of $252,735.26, including New Mexico GRT. Yes, sir?
Mayor Crawford, Counselor, so there is a correction on the distance of feet for the fencing. It is more than 1,500 feet of fencing. So 1,500 feet of fencing is just one portion of the project, and then there'll be an additional 1,240 of a different type of fencing, and then an additional 500 feet of another type of fencing. So the 1,500 feet will be a 4-foot R-panel fence around each of each of the homes along the tops of the retaining blocks.
Metal fence?
Yes, sir.
R panel?
Yes, sir, and it will be a wood grain look. It's that product that My Metal was presenting early on, same product, the R panel with the wood grain look. That'll be a 4-foot fence around each of the
Is that both
homes.
sides covered, or is one side white?
That's just one side, sir. So the outside will be the grain, and then the white will be to the inside.
So Levi, this doesn't include the additional 1,200?
Yes, sir, it does. Yes,
So
sir.
it's on the three, there's three of them.
So Mayor Crawford and Councilor Corey, I entered this agenda item. It was my error in putting just the approximately 1,500 square feet. I didn't read the whole
Okay,
scope when I
so
put it in there.
it's turnkey, it's.
Yes.
okay.
And then, so the other portion of it, the 1,240 feet, will be a 6-foot fence up the north and south property lines, the same R panel fence. And then in the front of the property there, it will be removal of the existing wood fence that's there. When I walked the site over there or that portion of the site, that fence is rotting, it's falling off. So that'll be removing that fence and then doing a 2x8 steel rail fence. It'll be a white metal fence, painted white, and then there'll be 4 additional rock pilasters included in this part of it, and those will
What's
also.
a pilaster? Is that the built up where you have the pole and the light?
Yes, sir, the rock that's currently there. So they have a proposal to do a faux rock that's similar to the rock pilasters that are there, and then that will also have 4 solar lights on top of those. So
That'll be nice.
the back entrance to 603 will have a solar light on the top as well as the 2 posts going into the main entrance. And I've coordinated with him what the plans for that driveway and everything, both of these projects, are a little ways out because of we need to get the, utilities done, the P&M done, the roadway done, and then these guys will come in and do the fencing and the landscaping portion of it.
It's gonna look nice.
And the steel fence in the middle it's a pretty rigid fence. It'll be a 1/8-inch thick steel on the 2-rail fence, and then 1/4-inch on the post, the 8x8 post. It'll be a similar look to what's there currently, but it'll be a metal fence painted white.
Nice. So one section will be 500 feet.
That'll be the front fence, yes, sir.
Front fence, and then you'll have another one that's 1,500 feet of 4-foot tall, 26 gauge wood grain, so that's the R panel.
Yes, sir.
And it'll have a top on top of the R panel, so it's not sharp.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll have the 1,240 feet of 6 feet tall, 26 gauge wood grain pro panel fence.
That's on both sides of the property.
Okay, and then what is this?
So that is the faux rock that there's kind of an option for the pilaster. So we can pick the colors. He can send us the options and stuff. I included some of those, what we want as far as colors, but that'll be for the additional 4 additional rock pilasters that'll be over there to match the pilasters that are already currently there in front of the rock house.
Yeah.
Okay. So how are you gonna pick out something like this to not really go against the rock house?
So that highlighted yellow one actually matches the current 4 pilasters that are there now.
Okay,
Yes, sir. Oh, sorry.
okay, very good. It's exciting stuff. Tri-West is out of
Yes,
Bernalillo,
I like that.
and we couldn't figure out anything they just had the best pricing and answered all the questions. So I know we were working with,
So I was working
Metal
with,
Masters and another one somewhere.
I was working with My Metal here
My Metal.
locally, but they had stated that they were a CES vendor. They're not.
And they weren't?
They're not a CES vendor. We could have gone through White Sands.
Yeah, that's like the
or-
guy that said he was a chef, and so he wasn't a chef, so they weren't there, quite there. Well, hopefully they get their license. They're nice guys.
Yeah, and Mayor and Council, we wanted someone with a state price agreement. Whenever you do a CES contract with these state grant funds, CES administrative fees that are part of that, and they will not reimburse you for that. So you end up having to pay those costs, and that could go up to 8% of the project, so.
To that point, also, a large portion of the groups that we tried to get that were on state price agreement were all either in Albuquerque or Las Cruces. Several of them declined to come down here just because it was too far and the project wasn't large enough for them.
So when you're looking at this drawing right here, your 6-foot poles, 6 foot high. And so what is going to be down here? Is it open?
That's 3 feet in the dirt, sir. They're buried 3 feet. The posts are buried 3 feet.
And so this is only sticking up roughly 3 feet?
Yes, sir.
That's the front fence, Mayor, that's gonna run all along the, Sutterth, or I'm sorry, Meacham.
Sufficient to keep the kiddos and stuff out in?
It's gonna look nice.
Okay. Anybody else? We do a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the purchase and installation of approximately 3,240 feet of fencing of various types for 603 Meacham from Tri-West Fence through statewide price agreement number 50, 5-25, 50 in the amount of $252,935.26, including New Mexico GRT.
Second.
Any discussion? And they misspelled Meacham on your contract. I was waiting for the bird dog reincarnation over here.
I didn't catch that one. That's the way I would spell it.
Meacham.
That's the phonetic stuff.
Good answer.
Okay. And so we have a motion second. Roll call, please.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Corey,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Okay, those are signed, sealed, and delivered. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
And that concludes the items that we had on regular. So now we'll move into closed session if I can get, right?
Okay. If you have.
Do we have something? No?
Oh, okay.
All right.
Beautiful.
We be done.
Yep, okay. We have no other further business. This meeting is adjourned.